Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4PlayerNetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4Player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 685. It is Thursday, June 24th, 2021. My name is Nick Henderson, and joining me tonight is Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going, everybody?
Christopher Guthridge.
Hello!
And Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
And I would like to start this show off by first sending a nice thank you to our lovely supporters on Patreon and Twitch. It is with your support that we finally, after 600-something episodes, have invested in nicer equipment. So
yeah,
nicer equipment.
And
we've
right
definitely
we've
invested in equipment before.
I know. It's in reality, it's the first time we've invested in new equipment since we've been recording from home. So here we are. We have new microphones, new arms, shock mounts, all this good stuff, which will hopefully help with the audio quality on the show going forward. So yes, I just want to send a shout out. We appreciate anyone and everyone who supports us on Patreon or Twitch. We love you guys, and we'll be answering questions from you later. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a chance to do that because of E3 and all that stuff, so we'll be answering some more of your questions in the second segment. But tonight, we've got stuff to talk about. We've got video games, we've got new video games, and we've got demos for games that aren't even out yet. Because this past week was Steam Next, I think is what it was called, right? It's like a...
Yep.
Was this kind of an official extension of Summer Game Fest, or... Because I got the two things confused for a bit, but there's
Steam
a bunch
Next
of
Fest?
demo... Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff out on Steam, and while we obviously didn't play all of it, we played some stuff that we might want to call your attention to, so we'll talk about that. But let's just jump right into it. We got games, we got a little bit of news to cover, and we got questions to answer. And it has been a couple of weeks since Ratchet and Clank launched, so I kind of want to open with that because we haven't had a chance to talk about it. It actually came out like the day E3 began, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing it. I don't think anybody else here has touched it. But you know what? The game is pretty delightful. It's pretty damn good. Has anybody here played a Ratchet and Clank game before?
The very first one way back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the
PS2
era?
days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not played any. I think I played some of the first one, and that's it.
And I'm kind of at the opposite end of that spectrum. I have basically only ever played the one that came out in 2016 on the PS4. I didn't really touch any of the PS2 games, which seems kind of strange because that was kind of a golden era of like 3D platformers on the PS2, and for whatever reason, I stayed away from that franchise. I was always kind of a Jak and Daxter fan, which is kind of dumb because it's like I don't see what that really has to do with anything.
Yeah.
Nick, you would be. You would be.
What's wrong with Jak and Daxter?
No, nothing, but I could see you looking at Ratchet and Clank and looking at Jak and Daxter, and like look at Ratchet, and then look at Jax, and Nick going, Jak and Daxter.
It's because Jak 2 was so edgy.
Because he's got, I don't know, he's like, he's
You say that though.
He's Nick.
But you say that, but like when I say Jak and Daxter, I specifically mean the original, like the precursors legacy.
Sure. Oh, sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I never finished Jak 2 because that
Sure.
game is fucking hard, like really hard. And I just wasn't good enough for that back in the day. Maybe I'm still not, but I never finished it. But here I am playing Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and you know what? This game is kind of a delight, and it is also one of I think there's been a couple so far that I think have been like real good demonstrations of like the PS5's power and like maybe not necessarily the power, but like smoothness of gameplay. I think this is like one of the smoothest playing games on the platform so far. It's right up there with Miles Morales and Demon's Souls.
Nick,
Is like a
how's the loading?
The other games
dude. The loading's great. Although I'll tell you this, when they were first showing this game off, they were making a big deal out of like switching between dimensions and whatnot,
Like
and it wasn't
like
really
without any kind of loading at all, just like you just can switch between them willy nilly, kind
right.
of.
And I've played about 10 hours of it so far, and um, see, I wasn't really sure how that was going to work when they
Mhm.
were talking about it, because I was like, can you just do that whenever you want? Can you do that wherever you want? Are there like two different parallel universes in every level that you can kind of switch back and forth between? But no, it's not that. There's like very, very specific rifts in time, or rifts
Story
in
stuff.
it's not even really story stuff. It's just like as you're going around these like maps, which are honestly pretty big, there's like visible like yellow rifts that you can like connect to, and that'll
That
take you
most
into a
likely,
separate
if you
area.
get close to it, it just starts loading in that area before you even go through it. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm sure there's enough memory in the background for them to load two areas or at least a subset of it.
And I'll tell
And
you,
then
when
when
they
you
do it,
go through it, yeah,
it's cool. It's
Have
it's
you
it's a
seen
really
a
cool
loading
thing.
screen?
video game magic.
And to answer your
That's nice.
question, I haven't really seen a loading screen because they hide all the loading in like really nice looking cutscenes, and
Okay.
once the cutscene ends, there's no visible loading that I can remember. The whole thing is very very seamless, and it's running out of there's two different modes like performance and whatever mode. I chose the one that's stable at 60 for at a lower resolution. There's actually three modes, and I forgot what the third one is, but I tried them all, and I feel like I took the resolution hit just a little bit, but it's hardly noticeable, and it more than makes up for it with the 60 frames per second. But man, that game looks and runs like a dream. And as far as like running around and jumping and platforming and hitting things and switching between guns on the fly, like damn, that game plays like a fucking dream. I'm a little, I guess I was a little disappointed at how kind of like unimportant, not unimportant, that's not the word I'm looking for. Um, I thought the dimension switching was going to be a much bigger deal than it actually is, because for the
Hmm.
most part you're it's like any other platformer. You're running around these kind of semi-open, larger open maps, and you're just doing what you need to do in those maps, and then every once in a while it's like, oh, here's a little side thing, it'll take you into an alternate dimension. But it's cool because like once you like shatter a dimension, you can see through the rift into the other dimension, and you can just cross into it, and you're like, so you're just in it.
Hmm.
Which is really cool when it's like two giant open spaces connected by seemingly nothing. Um, but it doesn't do it a whole lot. But it's got a lot of really cool traversal shit. You have these like rocket skates, and I don't remember if this is like a thing that was from the previous games, because again, didn't play a ton of them. But like you can hold down, I think it's R1 to kind of like use your like booster boots, and you'll like kind of like glide around. But then if you tap on the adaptive trigger, on the left adaptive trigger, like multiple times, he'll like do like rollerblading motions, and you'll get increasingly faster each time you do it, until all of a sudden you're like shooting around, and it feels really nice. It reminds me of I'm trying to remember what there was a game that I played fairly recently where you're like, when you get on ice, you're like on ice skates and you're kind of skating around, and you
It
had a
takes
lot of
two.
no, I mean maybe that happened. I feel
I mean, you do.
I mean honestly, I have it if it's in It Takes Two, I haven't gotten to that point yet because I'm still playing through that very slowly. Um,
Mhm.
but point is, it just has really really good.
Astrobot rescue mission or
I think it might have been
the
Astrobot. Also, I feel like
yeah
is there a thing in
Astro's
Monster Hunter
playroom,
Rise?
whatever it's called.
Is there a thing like that in Monster Hunter Rise that lets you like ice skate around on something? I feel like there was. Or
There's like drifting when you're riding your dog.
Calico, but yeah, no, it's not
uh,
actual ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I don't know what I'm thinking of. Well, you know what? Fuck it. It feels really good here. And you know what? There is nothing quite uh like beating a bunch of bad guys and having them explode into like all these like what do you call it? Like bolts and crank
Hmm.
like uh, gears and stuff, and then like just watching them all swirl around on screen. And there's also like really cool. I'm not in the footage you're seeing here. I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't have it up in front of me, but like there's
Hmm.
each level has its own kind of little twist, and in this one you go back and forth between these dimensions, and in one dimension it's like the same planet but like in a different dimension, and the planet's been kind of like destroyed, and it's like zero gravity in one, and or a lower gravity in one, and then in the other one it's like an actual and there's people walking around and stuff. But when you go into like the lower gravity sections, you're like, when you jump, you like kind of like float through the air really slowly. So when you hit enemies, like if you shoot enemies from far away, like all of their bolts that kind of come out of them are just kind of like floating through space, and then you kind of have to jump to them to get them, which is really cool. Um, But yeah, man, I don't know. There's not really much else I can say about it. It's Ratchet and Clank, but it's really, really good Ratchet and Clank.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't mention Rivet. Does anybody know? Can anybody tell me how bad the internet wants to fuck Rivet? Because I feel like that's got to be a thing, right?
What?
I mean, she's a furry, so
Yeah, I think the
I-
internet
that's-
wanted
that's
to
the
fuck
thing,
with it
right?
as soon as she was announced.
I'm not speaking for myself. I'm just asking how.
And
Man.
I've
yet
been
you're
trying-
the
I've
one who
been
brought
trying
this
to-
up.
Well, yeah,
what
of
Nick
course.
is asking is he's saying, where are the sites at? Like, where are they at?
Yeah,
those
which
horrible
sites
Like,
specifically?
which ones?
Which
Yeah,
side
where-
should,
so
should
I can
I
avoid them.
blacklist that I totally won't visit?
Oh, yes, avoid them.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
He's
Hey,
asking
this is a
for a
video game.
friend.
This is a video game podcast. I feel like it's my duty to at least bring this up. There's people in chat right now who are like, "Oh my god, Nick, how dare you?" But
Is
no.
Rivet fuckable? We report. You decide.
Exactly. But in all seriousness, for a game that like introduces, it's called Ratchet and Clank, but you spend an almost equal amount of time playing as Rivet, and she's great. She seems like a really great character. And I don't know like the backstory of Ratchet or whatnot, but I guess Lombax's, which is what Ratchet is, or like he's like the last one, I guess. So her existence is kind of a big deal, but she's kind of like the mirror version of him in
So,
another
so
dimension.
does she have
so it
like
kinda
a
makes sense.
companion named Clunk or something?
She has a companion. So it's fun, and I don't know if this might be minor spoiler territory. I'm not entirely sure, but like when shit happens at the very beginning, you're playing as Ratchet and Clank, and then you kind of get split up, and then Clank meets Rivet. So Rivet is running around with Clank, and then Ratchet ends up meeting up with another character that is from her dimension, and he kind of rolls with his. So he's a new character. So whenever regardless of who you're playing as, one of those two characters is a new character with kind of a new personality, new dynamic, which is really quite nice. All the characters are great, and the comedy's pretty good. I like it.
Wait, is that not? Are you saying that's not Clank on Ratchet's back right here?
If you're seeing Ratchet right now, the little robot on his back is not Clank. Is he yellow, like gold?
Yeah.
Looking?
Yes.
Yeah. That is. I won't spoil his name, but yeah, it's not Clank.
I like Clunk.
So I don't know how it's not something dumb like Clunk or whatever. It's in fact,
How
his
dare
name.
you?
Is it-
Sorry, but his name is important in the sense that like there's a lot of time on screen spent like interactions between Ratchet and him about his name. So I don't really want to spoil that, but it's good. It's all
Prince of the
stuff.
Universe says her name.
Her name. I mean, I might.
And
I might be wrong.
Blackheart is corroborating that.
Okay, it's a her. Sorry, I apologize. I mean,
Clunk
am I
Davis.
Clunk Davis. Couple little things I'll mention before we move on. This game, this studio is kind of known for like really creative weapons and all of their stuff, and I think that still stands here. So far, the ones that I've created or the ones that I've found might not be my favorite in this. I mean, of the two games that I've played, they're not quite as crazy as I was expecting, but I still have several like spots to like fill. So there might be some really crazy stuff coming. But you can also pick up when you explore these big open spaces. You can find pieces of armor sets, and the armor sets are like they have like stat boosts or like passive abilities or whatnot if you equip them. And if you equip all three of a single set, it boosts the quality of that boost or stat or whatever you want to call it. Which is nice, but it also changes your physical appearance in game and in cutscenes, and and you can change the color, so you can like fuck around with the color of each individual piece of the armor. It's nice, it's cool, it's really cool, and it's got a really great fucking photo mode. I'll just say that.
Of course it does.
But anyways, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is chef's kiss. It's good.
Cool.
Good.
All right, so Nolan.
What's up, Nick?
You've been playing a game that is nothing like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Very different. Yeah.
I don't know much about this game, but when I first saw it, it gave me it made me think of, oh god, why am I blanking suddenly on the name of that game that you love? That
Sim
the
City.
Frostpunk.
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 Frostpunk. It made me think of Frostpunk, but not in the same way. But
I mean, sure, it is a city builder. But this one is the Frostpunk, I would say, is focused a lot more on like the survival aspect
Right.
of the city builder, in that you are constantly having to make decisions on whether people live or die. Whether I say, oh, right now work shift is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., but we can make work shift 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m. And we'll get more work done. But then obviously people will suffer more. So yeah, that game is a little more. That's the kind of shtick. This game is more about, well, so I mean, you're a company. You are setting up, in my case, Dick Butt Incorporated, setting up a business on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, hence Industries of Titan. And your goal is to expand your company, harvest minerals, make money, but you're constantly being not constantly, but there are other people who are already on the planet, and they don't like you showing up, mining minerals, putting out pollution on the planet, so they attack. And you'll notice on the top rightish, you'll see like there's like a box with kind of like a red bar in it. And that is an ever-filling like red bar. It will fill up and then you will be attacked by like rebel forces. So you kind of know it's coming.
You mean the one that says rebel threat percentage?
Yep, that's the one. So once that hits, 100%, like you're about to get attacked. So there's this constant kind of like filling bar that goes up and down depending on how you're doing as a company. So say you kind of fuck shit up, the rebels won't really care as much. But say you start, we've built, 4 new factories and we're outputting all this more stuff, then that bar might fill up faster. So I don't even know where to start with this game. There are dozens and dozens and upon dozens of mechanics and little things. The simplest way I can put it is like just look at some of the materials. So you have minerals, which you need to mine to build new buildings. Minerals are basically, think of it like steel or iron. You have I forgot what the green one's called, like isotopes or something. Those are for the more kind of a sciencey type thing. So if you're kind of trying to upgrade some like engineering thing, you might need those for that. You have dollars, and then you have influence. Those are your kind of main things. Oh, you can also find artifacts in ruins on the planet. Dollars are interesting. So the money, not only the actual dollars, whatever the currency they have, you get that. One of the easiest ways is by having your citizens, your non-employees, watch ads. You earn ad revenue.
Now that is the kind of commentary I'm here for.
There are literally monetization stations. So when they wake up, they go and sit in front of a TV and they watch ads all day. Yes, their job is to watch ads.
To be advertised to.
And that makes
Black
me
Mirror
money.
shit.
Do they buy NFTs?
NFTs aren't in the game yet, but I would not be surprised. So this game technically is still early access. So it is officially in a like extremely playable state though. Like you could to an extent play the game from start to a finish. They're just still adding more content though. But yeah, I have a residential center. When the game first starts, all you have is a single building. You just have this one building. You put a little like I forget what they're called, like a habitation pod where people can sleep. And then unfortunately, that's where it all starts. They start producing waste. Waste in this game is literal trash on the ground, not like poop. Through their lives, they just create waste. And so the problem is now there's trash on the ground. So, now it takes them probably. When there's trash on the ground, if an employee is trying to walk somewhere to do something, that slows them down. So, okay, well, let's create a storage unit. So I create a storage unit, and then the employees can clean up the trash and put it in the storage unit. Well, now my storage unit is full. I need to create another storage unit, but I'm out of minerals. So I need to collect some minerals so I can make another storage unit. And so it's one of those things where it's just kind of like a cycle of, kind of getting that ball.
Collecting minerals also produces waste.
So no, collecting minerals does not produce waste, depending on how you collect it. So you'll notice there are some, if you're looking at the footage, there's some like, I'm actually even right now in the footage scanning some ruins. So ruins are things that were kind of already here. Like I don't really know the backstory if there was like a civilization here before or something, but there are all these ruins. So I can go and send some employees out to scan the ruins, and they'll say like, oh, there's 14 minerals, 3, I forget what they're called. What are they called? Like isotopes or something? I can't see the thing; it's too small. The green things, some waste, and then maybe like an artifact. So I have the option of, hey, I can either tear down this building and get the artifact that is there, or I can tear it down and collect those materials, which it might be some waste in there too, and now I have to handle that waste, or I can just kind of destroy it all and get nothing out of it, which I don't really. I mean, maybe if it's just waste, you might want to do that. But yeah, so you get that stuff. Well, and now I need to build something to process minerals or something like that. Well, that costs power, so I need to build a generator. But generators cost fuel, so I need to create a fuel generator, which absorbs gas that's in the air. Like there's certain areas of the planet that have more gas than others. And so you can absorb that gas and turn it into fuel to power your generators, to power your machines. And it's just this kind of cycle. But the thing, as you get going further and further, you start building like kind of bigger and more, better things. So like actually, I think even at some point in this footage, I build like essentially a power plant. Everything I had built before was literally, because most of these buildings, like the factory, you can zoom inside the factory, and now you're on the factory floor, and it becomes another kind of mini game of it is a grid, say like 10 by 10, and I have to say, okay, well my generator is like it's like an L shape of like 1 2 3, and then the other side 1 2 3. So I have to be able to put that somewhere. But the problem is, depending on where you put things, if it's a device a human has to interact with, you have to leave a path for them to get to that thing. And so it becomes this kind of game of almost a Tetris thing when you're inside a building playing with it. You can upgrade buildings to be larger, which will give them more floor space. At first, you just build them up, but certain buildings you can actually even build out sideways. There's lots and lots and lots going on. What's up, Nick?
So I know this is it's a city builder. So
Yeah.
I know generally, like typically speaking, these do these have like end games per se, or is like
So this one does this has a
achieve?
very definitive end game.
Oh, okay.
In this case, there are 4 rebel alliances on this planet. I have to take out all 4 of them, and then I'm the winner.
Wait, you because
Okay,
you are
there,
the
Darth.
industry.
Yes. I have to massacre all the people on this planet.
So the good guys. You're supposed to massacre the good guys.
Good is in the eye of the beholder, Nick.
That is.
I am here
true.
creating jobs for people. I am giving them homes.
Okay.
That's fucked up.
So one thing that unfortunately I don't have any footage of in this game is a whole nother aspect. Is there are spaceships. So think like, and honestly, like there is lots of like, reflections and mirrors of like StarCraft in this. In that like, we need to construct additional pylons. And it's the same thing. It's like we're out of energy. We got to produce more things. Oh, we're out of Vespane gas. We got to get more.
You're incentivized to grow infinitely.
Exactly. So you build a space station. And so in that space station, similar to the easiest way to think about it is FTL, you have a variety of ships you can choose from. Unfortunately, like in FTL, you just get to choose a ship and now you go for it. But this, depending on the size of the ship, it will cost different, mineral resources to build. Then when you build it, it has a different shape, which means that different shape will determine what you can put in there. Ships need a couple of things by default. They need an engine. They need life support for the crew. They need crew pods. And then they need a generator. They need fuel for that generator. And then probably a weapon. You don't technically have to put on a weapon if maybe it's just going to be a like scout ship to go and kind of fly around and see things. But yeah, so you build a ship, you put things in it, you put weapons, similar to your city. You can't just put a generator somewhere. And, okay, well, how does that? You have to put like essentially kind of like pylons. I forget what they're called.
And you have to
relays.
think about how you have to think about everything you put down in terms of how it relates to everything else around it, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah, so looking at the city, you'll see that I actually do have some roads, and roads make travel between places faster. Eventually, I can start building trucks that can carry, instead of one resource, like a person can pick up one resource, a truck can carry 10 resources. So it's 10 times faster. But a truck can only get to somewhere if there's a road to get there. Similarly, on your ship, you need to have, when you put down something a human has to interact with, there'll be spots on that like, hey, a human can reach it here or here. So if those two things, they have to be open. You can't just cram everything together. And the problem is, if you cram everything together and then you get into combat and one of those things gets destroyed, a human can't get to it to fix it. So you get to lay out you get to lay out your ship. Unlike FTL, where everything's kind of already laid out, you get to choose, and at any point in time, you could say, actually, you know what, I don't want this here. I'm going to move it over here. But anyway, so you have your ship, you launch your ship, you're kind of flying around, you get into ship combat, and it's fucking exactly like FTL. You see a top-down view of each ship. You see the enemy's crew running around in their ship. You see where all their like parts and mechanics are. You can aim your weapons at their engine to disable them. You can aim your weapons at their life support, at their weapons to disable their weapons. Whatever, you get to do what you want to do.
So when you're drawing this I have, I still haven't played FTL, and I know that's a travesty. But I know FTL holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. So when you draw the comparison here to FTL, is it like a significant enough like 1-to-1 comparison that like you can say, if you liked FTL, this definitely has this thing that that's going to elevate it for you?
That aspect of FTL is like 95% of the game. I would say that aspect of this game is like maybe 10%. So it's something that you would enjoy, but it's not something you constantly do. The other problem is, as of now, once again, because it's early access, when you fly to another kind of like the Rebels, they have their own kind of little cities. When you fly to one of those, they might have defensive turrets. So I have a turret in my city. I only have one right now because my city was small the last time I was even close to someone attacking me. So I only built one turret, and I kind of had it in the middle. And so anytime someone tried to fly in, they would just get shot down. So when you go into combat with a turret right now, you can't actually do anything. It says like, oh, like building combat, like not available at this time or something like that. So eventually they might put something in that will allow you to maybe specifically attack turrets. And Skyliner is saying not getting FTL vibes. Like I said, you're not going to see any of the FTL footage in this game. But if you Google Industries of Titan ship combat, it is FTL.
And it's cool that like something like that finds it, like, because like when a lot of times you'll see a game like this and it's kind of, I don't want to, one trick pony sounds negative, but this is kind of what you associate with the entire game. So thinking about like having an entirely separate section that's like very reminiscent of this other thing is cool.
Yeah, and like I said, just what you're seeing right now, the top-down view, that's one thing. Like, if you look at this, it's like, oh, it's like Frostpunk. Yeah, but in Frostpunk, you can't go inside the buildings. Like in this, and I don't know how much I do it in this footage, just because I wasn't focusing on the buildings right now. I had recently done a whole lot, and I had kind of gotten enough. I recently built a mine, so I'm actually mining minerals from a source in the ground. Beforehand, I was just getting them from buildings. So anytime I needed minerals, I had to go to a building to mine them. But now I kind of have this constant flow of minerals coming in, which means I have more minerals to play around with. So in this footage, I'm building my first like gas center that actually pulls the gas out of the air, not like a tiny machine in a building, and my first actual generator plant. Everything else beforehand had physically been inside a building. And like I said, your main hub building, you can go inside that. Any of your factories, you can go inside. You can't go inside like the residential center or like your storage warehouse. But any of like the factories and stuff, you physically go inside there, and it is another mini game. It is a whole nother level. If you're looking at the footage right now, you're looking at me kind of looking at my employees. You can tell employees what to focus on. I currently only have 17 employees, but right after I finished capturing some footage, I think I got it up to like 23 or something. But you can say, hey, I want you to first prioritize, building buildings. After, if there's no buildings that need to be built right now, I then want you to prioritize any repairs that need to be done. After that, I want you to, prioritize upgrading minerals, because any mineral or any kind of either the minerals or the other resource, there's a process by which you can make them more valuable. And the developers kind of liken it to like alchemy, because it's not like, oh, it becomes more dense, so it takes up less storage space. It is literally, as soon as you go through this process, one of this mineral is now worth 5 of this mineral. And you can process these again in a level 2 processor, and now it is worth 25. So it really behooves you to spend time doing that. But the problem is, it literally takes time. It takes dedicated employees to do something. It takes time. The input process is not the same as the actual processing of the material, is not the same as the output process. So everything's kind of out of whack a little bit. And then the byproduct of doing this is more waste. And so, yeah, I haven't talked about waste enough. Waste piles up. It just keeps piling up more and more and more and more. And all of a sudden, you have all this
on
waste.
the map.
Yeah, it does. And unless you put it in a storage unit. So what do you do with that waste? Well, you build a smokestack and you burn it. The problem is, when you burn it, it puts off pollution. People don't like that. They can die from too much pollution. So what is the solution? You build a giant ass fan that blows the pollution away. So I built a giant ass fan.
Out of sight, out of mind.
You can literally see
That's
it.
how it works.
It's in the footage. You can see it. There's actually a lake nearby. I built the smokestack near a lake, and I blow the pollution over the lake. So now, if there's different modes. So I'm currently just looking at the city mode, but then there's like a power mode. There is a gas view. There is a pollution view, which will change how everything looks. And if you look at the pollution view, you will see in my game there's a lake that's just like covered in like clouds of pollution, because I've just kind of blown it all
bringing global
away.
warming to the biggest moon of Saturn.
I'm looking forward to the recycling update coming soon.
So that's the thing. So actually, since the game officially launched this week in early access.
Oh, so it's in
the developers.
It's
so technically still early access. I don't think it's technically 1.0. If y'all remember, Ryan Clark, one of the lead developer, I don't know what his actual title is now, but this is from Brace Yourself Games, the people behind Crypt of the Necrodancer and Cadence of Hyrule.
Okay,
wow, this is them. And so they've been doing, right. They've been working on this game for I think like a little over 5 years. And so here's me. If you're looking at the footage, this is me going inside a building, so you can kind of see some of that. I have a bunch of generators in that building that I was just going into. But so they were saying that there's still a whole lot more to come, in the sense that they are thinking of still more mechanics. Like they even mentioned potentially a employee like schedule. Like right now it's just, hey, they are currently sleeping, or they are currently working, or they are currently on leisure time. They've talked about kind of similar to Frostpunk, maybe extending that and changing that. So they're taking lots of feedback from fans. And from just people playing the game to say, like, how can we tweak this to add more mechanics, to add more little things that will kind of change it up as time goes on. What's up, Chris?
This is like the perfect kind of game for early access, because like that is, that's like a really systems heavy game. Like Hades, like really benefits from having constant feedback while in development. So this looks great.
So if this is the Crypt of the Necrodancer devs, the question I have to ask is, how's the music?
Oh, dude, the music's fantastic. It is fantastic. I've really been enjoying it.
Soundtrack.
No, so I will say that it does change from time to time. It kind of has like a loop through different soundtracks. When I wouldn't say it's like like Crypt of the Necrodancer. Obviously, you're going through levels and doing things, and so it changes. But this is kind of just like a soundtrack in the background that will kind of cycle through a few different songs. There's actually a music player that you can say like, "Hey, go to the next song." That's kind of just built into the game. But yeah, so I was watching some of their streams. They are talking about just how much more content they're planning on for this game to expand it further. Now, I've put maybe 12 hours in so far. I'm probably going to like finish a run and then maybe put the game down and wait for them to put more into it. Similar to like Frostpunk or StarCraft, whatever. You can play that game dozens and dozens of times.
Very similar to how you approached Crypt of the Necrodancer, am I right?
Exactly. So like I said, they're planning on way more for it. And so I'm probably going to, finish a run where I, defeat all of the rebels around, get credits. And then put the game down for a bit. I've been following it for a while. It's been on my radar, mainly because, I'm such fans of Brace Yourself games. But it wasn't, I haven't touched it until this week. because I knew, it was still in such early development. I could have bought it and played it a while ago, but it wasn't until they did this kind of, hey, we're officially early access. Here it is.
I totally thought this looked really interesting, but I am now fascinated by the fact that this is from the guys who did Crypt of the Necrodancer, because holy crap, if without someone telling you that, or without being like really familiar with like the studio that made those games, I never would have guessed that they went from something like Crypt of the Necrodancer and Cadence of Hyrule to this. That's super impressive.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. There's lots of. I still haven't gotten into other mechanics. There's this whole thing with like a council that overrules you, and you can earn like influence, and you can say, "Hey, I'm going to spend some influence to get some money from them." There are constantly ships kind of coming in and out of your port, and you can kind of recruit people off of them. There are just like dozens and dozens and dozens of mechanics in this game.
So many,
but it's a lot of fun. Oh yeah.
All right, well keep us posted. This looks pretty rad.
Well, if you're putting it down, maybe try out a Tropico game.
I'm familiar with Tropico. It's not that I don't want to play Tropico. It's that I am very picky and choosy with the types of games like these that I play.
Very fair. Very fair.
If I tried to play all of them, I would just be playing, like city builders and stuff the rest of my life, and that's all I would play.
I feel like I'm kind of the same way now with one survival games, because I Subnautica kind of made me fall in love with survival games, but there's so many out there and I don't want to play them all, but like the ones that I've done my research and picked out, I ended up loving. So like I like that approach. And then the other one is like Jurassic World Evolution, like Park Builders, which in kind of in a similar vein to this. There's a lot of options out there for that too, but like I very specifically fell in love with like how that game worked. And while I'm sure those other games are great, like you could lose months of time just getting into.
I will also say, unlike Frostpunk, Frostpunk every day is like a big deal. It's like, oh, the sun rises on another day. You're like, it's like a big event. This, it doesn't really happen. There's a day-night cycle, but it's not like it never kind of informs you that time has passed. And all of a sudden I realize I've been playing this game for 5 hours, not noticing any kind of, and I'm like, it's felt like goddamn 10 minutes. Like, how has it been like the other day, it was literally like 12:45 at night in the morning. And I was like, how did I started playing this at like 6 p.m. and all of a sudden it's 12, like what the fuck happened?
That's a fun video game right there.
Yeah. It's super, because it's just one of those things where there's always something. There's always, as soon as I get this, I just need 5 more minerals. Oh, quick, now I can do this. And like, oh, now that I have that, now, and it's just these little things that just keep pulling you in.
It's just one more turn.
I'm having a very similar. So I'm not going to talk about it this week. I'll probably save it for next week. But like I started playing Blasphemous, which is very like Castlevania, Hollow Knight, and whatever. And I have a very similar effect going on with those kinds of games. And Blasphemous, like last night I started at like 9 o'clock and I was like, I've got to go to bed. I've got to stop. I've got to put it down. I'm like, but I can go one more until I find one more save spot and like open up more of the map. And it's like so fucking hard to put shit like that down. But yeah, keep us posted. This looks really cool.
Okay.
Now, before we get into like the little demos and whatnot we want to touch on, Crispy, you have a game that's in early access that you started playing. And I don't know if we have a trailer to run for it, maybe?
Yes.
Chris Davis? Okay, cool. It looks like, from what I saw, you might have to correct me, it looked like Indiana Jones-esque, Crispy, called Phantom Abyss.
Indiana Jones-esque?
There's a whip. It's a whip. You have a whip.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is this game to a T. It is Indiana Jones as a roguelike obstacle course, I guess. Mm-hmm. So the whole point of it is that you're running through these procedurally generated temples, and you are trying to get deep enough into the temple that you can retrieve an artifact, an idol. It's usually an idol, just like from
it melts your face.
Temple of Doom.
No,
sorry, not Temple of Doom.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, so you can see it in the trailer right there. Yeah, but the kind of hook of the game is that each of these procedurally generated temples, right? They are like what the fuck am I trying to say? they're not just made for you, right?
Correct.
Like they make them and they put them out there, and the whole idea is that anybody can be randomly put into one of these temples and run, but as soon as one person makes it to the end and grabs the artifact, the temple is sealed and nobody else can get that specific artifact.
Yeah.
And when
That's
you
cool.
run, yeah, and when you run, you see the ghosts of everybody else who's tried before you who died.
Oh, that's
So-
really cool.
So you're like following along with their phantoms until they like get fucking
Until there's
killed,
no more
and then
phantoms.
and then hopefully that helps you avoid the same mistakes these people made, although
Yeah.
not always, right? But yeah, and then if you get to the end, you get the idol, which is good. If you don't get to the end, you die. Then you are just another phantom in that temple now.
And you'll never come back to that same
Right.
temple again.
Yeah, you
Correct.
never do. The idea is that you never do any of them twice. You can never do another one a second time, right?
Yeah.
I will say, however, it is super early access. It just came out like this week, I think.
Yeah.
And they are planning. They say they're planning on at least a year in early access before they launch to 1.0. So there's still a lot of stuff to be done with it, and right now it does kind of feel like the permutations of the temples aren't that, that super like
They're not
different.
very different. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you'll see a lot of the same elements over and over again, and you kind of see some of those elements stacked up in the same ways. It hasn't been too egregious so far. Like it hasn't been like, oh, I know exactly where to go because of this. Because everything can change, like from trap placement to like the actual order of the rooms. And right now they don't have any other like biomes other than this like general temple vibe, right? But it seems like later on you're gonna be able to you'll have these like decision points where like every say 3 or 4 levels that you go down in the temple, they'll have a decision point where you can either stop and go to the shrine and grab the artifact, or you can go deeper and try to get more stuff. I guess I don't even really know why you
Better
would.
idols or something, or,
Right.
yeah.
And they have that those elements on the UI already, and they have like the map that shows you where you can go deeper. But it's not in the game yet. If you try to go to the door that would take you deeper, it says like, the caverns are not ready yet or something like that. So it sounds like they're going to be these different biomes that you move through. And the map that they show you of your progress kind of reflects that, because it looks like a cross section of like the earth, right? And you see this trail that you're going down through all these different interlocking layers that rotate around each other. So it seems like there are other like other kinds of environments that go deeper, but they're just not in the game yet.
Chris, quick question.
Yeah.
I've seen, obviously this is we didn't get a chance to get some footage for the game, so we're just watching this trailer. But based on some of the stuff I've seen in the trailer, do you have to get the idol and then also get out of the temple?
No.
Yes.
Or do you you instantly
You
win,
you
or
don't
you're
have to
done,
go.
or?
No, you don't have to go all the way out. It's like you get when you go for the idol, you are put on the level that has the idol in it, and it's shorter than a typical section. And it's like you have to just survive this last couple of obstacles, pick up the idol, and then when you do, you're ported back out to the hub.
Okay, I wasn't sure, just because I had seen in some of the footage it looked like they were like carrying an idol. But maybe that's part of the
Maybe
thing
that's
they're still
coming.
working on.
There-
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Is
and
maybe
they're,
because
like-
it's still early. Yeah.
There are like, and I think there's supposed to be other things too. Like I said, like if you go deeper, they have other like side items you can pick up, like other treasures. I'm not entirely sure how that works yet though, or if it's
Gotcha,
all
gotcha.
even like implemented.
I wasn't
whip
sure, because
deal.
it was, the whole thing with raiders is, as soon as Indy gets the idol, he
Right.
now has the obstacle that he has to avoid to get out.
Yeah.
So I wasn't
Which
sure.
is
The
that
closest
Guardian thing, I
analog,
believe.
the closest analog to that is like these guardians, right? So each temple
Yeah.
is guarded by a different kind of like procedurally generated guardian that does different things, and they all kind of look like these floating heads. Some of them will like, I mean, the ones I've seen, it's like some of them will just like teleport from room to room. They'll just like show up whenever you enter a room, and they'll do something like shoot poison at you or like shoot laser beams at you. I've seen ones that like it spawns in with you and it moves like it does that like it follows thing where it moves towards you at a fixed like slow fixed pace like constantly, so you have to be careful about like backtracking and shit. um and there's others, but I haven't seen too many different ones yet. And the Guardians usually don't come into play until you get to the second level. So like the Guardians will awaken on the second level. The first level is just a pure obstacle course.
So next question.
Yeah.
You enter a temple, right? There's other phantoms. Sure. At the beginning of the temple, are there like 1,000 phantoms around?
I haven't been in one yet that had more than like 12. Okay. But I was watching.
I would have to think they put like an upward limit on that just for that
they
exact
probably
reason.
do.
I know. I'm just saying. You know, I think it's something
I've seen streamers do it with like 30 though. So
okay.
I don't know what the limit is. I think it's just more one of those things where it's like, you know, only one person in the world can finish this particular temple.
Sure.
And that, you know, it's just like, how long does that take to happen, right?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any that are hard enough that they've like weeded out like 100 people or anything, you know?
So it kind of it kind of polices itself. So it doesn't become an issue.
I guess, but that's also one of those things where like this is such a like the whole thing is just like the dexterity of like running and jumping and whipping and doing all that. So like I could see people getting like really good at this and them having to like kind of ratchet things up or kind of randomize the difficulty or something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, are you so certain about the, you know, once they get the idol and they escape, like nobody can ever access that temple again? Because I feel like after a certain point, you will only have so many permutations of randomization.
That's like, that is the pitch. That is the like whole point of the game. And that's like what they say. So, you know, whether or not that is truthful or like how much they can get out of that, I have no idea. It does sound like I said, some of the temples have kind of been arranged in similar ways now.
And hold on. Just real quick, if you know anything about this little, it's a funny little thing called math. It's been around for a little while. If you had 12 different rooms, right? Say they just make 12 rooms. Well, what are the permutations of those 12 rooms? It would be like, and my assumption is 12 factorial because of the different ways you can combine all those things.
Well, I guess it depends on how many of those different elements there are to exist in the first place.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If, say, there were 12 rooms and you just line them up in different orders, in theory, that makes 480 million combinations.
Yeah.
Because there are many different ways you could combine those things.
Yeah.
There's plenty of things that they could put together.
But there's a difference between 12 million permutations and 12 million permutations that all feel unique, you know?
Sure. Exactly. Yes. Sure. No, definitely. And I get it that, you know, yes, you have to say, okay, well, you can't have room one. I understand that. But what I'm saying is there's still quite a few different ways you can order them and have like not necessarily infinite, but so many that in theory it would be, years before you would see a repetition of one.
And I don't mean to be cynical or anything, but this game is really fun. It's really cool, but it has that feel of like that. Oh, this is the fun game that like all the streamers are going to be playing for like a month and then everyone's going to move on, kind of thing. I don't know like what, like this isn't like when we say like they'll say it's like a roguelike, but because there is a minor sense of progression, like you do as you've gone and like collected idols or like gone like just by making different temple runs, you kind of unlock different little passive bonuses that you can pick up at the beginning of a run. So like before you go in the temple, like they'll give you a couple different whips you can choose from, and like each whip will do something different, but not like crazy different. Some of them will just be like this one has a longer length, or this one whips you quicker, or this one like gives you some kind of like passive bonus to something, right? Like makes you run a little faster, or jump a little higher.
Okay, because I was wondering what the incentive would be to like go for those deeper challenges.
Yeah, and I think
wait and see on that though, right?
Right, you can't go for the deeper challenges yet, but I imagine that's the kind of stuff that they would lock down in that.
I mean,
you know?
I'm also thinking about, because this is early. This is still very early, and I think the
Well,
ultimate like success
but
and
what I
longevity
was
of this game is going to hinge about, like, I think about something like Hades, and it's like all those permutations of those levels felt very, very similar, but it wasn't really about the levels themselves. It was about the choices you made before you went on those runs and the things that you found while you're in those runs. And if they could introduce enough elements like that into the equation, even if
yeah,
the permutations feel
there doesn't
similar.
seem to be much in this, like, from what I've seen, there doesn't seem to be much in the sense of like continuity like you would get in something like Hades. Like the whole reason that you're doing all these runs in Hades is because you've got a million different systems that you're trying to progress through. Like you're collecting a million different kinds of currency to do different things that affect the game in very like profound ways. And this isn't there yet. I don't know if they're planning on like how much they're planning on fleshing this out. Right now though, to me it kind of feels like it kind of feels like a streamer game. It feels like a fun, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play this on my stream for a little bit and then go play like a real game,
You know what could be really cool?
What?
Is if that element that we're talking about, like we don't know if there's gonna be a progression, like that gets worked into this or whatever, but like, what if it's somehow tied to the different what do you call them? The things that you're trying to grab. What are we calling them? The idols. Like, what if each idol is unique in some way, and each idol gives you like some kind of boost or advantage or something, and those are kind of unique, and you, by collecting those, you build up like a very specific kind of like character that's kind of unique to you, and that can then help you in future runs. Like that could be really cool.
Well, to be fair, it does kind of feel like they might try to do something like that, or that they have designs to do something like that.
So that was,
it doesn't really change. Like you are just like, I don't know how much progression they can add to the character itself, right? Like you are just a pair of legs and a whip, basically,
Yeah.
And like even every time you run, it gives you like a randomized character model right now, anyway. So that like there's not like much of a sense of continuity of like you progressing your character through like a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll see. Nolan, did you have something you want to say before we?
Yeah,
before we
I was
move
just going to say that I could see it being fairly simple to add that sense of progression, in the sense that you maybe do something with that affects like how your whip works or how you interact with the environments, maybe potentially fucking let you jump higher or jump farther, little things like that.
Absolutely.
Where you could find things, maybe you find an idol that increases some ability, or that will add to that sense of progression. So even though it is randomly and so maybe potentially that even changes with the idol itself. Maybe the more people that have failed in a level, the better the reward is at the end. If you are the first one to defeat a temple and you defeat it on your first try, maybe the reward isn't as good because that temple wasn't that hard.
And I will say the game as it exists right now runs really well. Like it feels like a pretty
good.
Like it feels like there's a little bit of polish that's been put on it so far. Like it's not just like this like cobbled together alpha that they put out there. The core loop of the gameplay is fun, like running and jumping and sliding and whipping and doing all that stuff. Like once you get into the rhythm of it and it like starts feeling like parkour, that's really fun. So I hope that this next year is just them refining and adding systems and kind of like balancing and things like that. But we'll see.
You could add something where you get like a fucking bag of sand and you can throw some sand out to see if there's like a trap in front of you.
I mean, that would be so cool.
Reference. I get that reference.
That would be so cool.
I don't think this game is going to be worth playing until they add the Shrine of the Silver Monkey, but that's just me.
And we swing. Can we swing from vines with the monkeys? Okay.
Puzzles like stuff like like the Silver Monkey, like make a room. But the thing about having a puzzle room is that like you're just gonna sit and watch like 5 phantoms do the puzzle and be like, oh okay, like so.
You could easily just not show you what the other phantoms did.
Also, what if the room is
it's easy to procedurally
gas?
Generate a puzzle.
Yeah.
The
looks
ceiling
cool.
slowly coming down at you.
The thing I would say right now about this game is understand that there's not a lot of progression to it right now, so it just kind of feels like a fun little toy, but it is fun. Like it is, running through the temples is really fun. I just would wait and see what
A
their
lot can
grander
happen.
vision is.
A lot can happen in a year, and I'll say it again. I said it about Industries of Titan, but this is also another example of especially a genre of game that I think could really benefit from being in early access, because you're going to get feedback, especially if their hope is to ultimately make this game that is deeper and serves as more than just a fun monthly trend on Twitch. You know what I mean? If they want this to go deeper than that, listening to people in early access could make all the difference in the world. So I'll be eager to see where this goes, because this does look pretty dope. Cool. Okay. Before we cut to break, I want to get through at least a couple of these demos. And again, I'm going to let Chris Davis pick one and start. Let's spend just a couple minutes per demo tops, because there's a lot to go through here. And again, this is not comprehensive. There was a shit ton of stuff to play, but we handpicked a few and played some. So Chris Davis, why don't you start with one?
Okay, I don't remember what is
from Steam
first,
Next.
But Steam Next. SABLE. Let's go with SABLE.
Oh, so it's me. So you said you didn't play this, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was not sold on this game at first. I wasn't, because they seemed like they were writing on the art style quite a bit. And
that's very much a vibe I got from this game.
Yeah, but like now that I've kind of seen what it is and played it, I'm much more interested. It seems like kind of a semi-open world environment. It's got this cool like Spider-Verse kind of like animation style to the character, where it's like he's running at lower frames than everything else around him, which is a cool effect. But you're going around collecting in the demo, at least you're collecting parts to put together a speeder bike, which you can use to like speed around the world, and which feels nice.
Wait, this game has pod racing?
It does have not pod racing per se, but it has racers that feel really good, and you're like speeding around the desert, and it feels really nice. But you're going around to these different temples and collecting parts to bring them back to put together your bike. And there's people you talk to, and there's villages, and it's even kind of Breath of the Wildy, because you can literally climb on anything, and it has like a little climb meter. So if you run up to a wall, you can scale it as long as you. So it kind of leads me to believe you're going to kind of like boost that as you go. In the demo, you get this really cool means of traversal. It turns you into like Bubble Boy. You can like jump, and if you hold the jump button after you leap, you'll kind of like float in this like bubble. So it seems like you're going to go around the world and kind of collect these like interesting means of traversal, and that's going to kind of allow you to access other areas. So maybe it's kind of Metroidy, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, it seems a lot cooler than I was expecting. It has some great dialogue so far, and it has what I think could be the soundtrack of the year for me, anyways.
Wow.
It is so chill and so good that I was like, even if everything else about this game sucked, I feel like I'm going to play it for the soundtrack. That was my reaction to it anyways. But luckily, I think everything else around it is also quite nice. And like I said, the art style, while I wasn't initially sold on it just based on some screenshots, it looks really nice in motion. So this is coming out, I think, in September, and it looks really good. So that's SABLE. Boom. That's our goal there, Chris Davis. Next demo.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. What do we have?
Chris Davis is going in a very particular order.
How about we do the next one that we actually both played? Severed Steel.
Oh, right. So you captured footage of
this?
I played a little bit of this. Seems really cool. It's like oh my god, why am I blanking on the name of the game that we all played in VR and loved?
Super Hot?
Shooty bang. Super Hot, thank you.
Oh.
It's like Mirror's Edge.
It looked like Super Hot.
Yeah, it's like Mirror's Edge. I mean, Super Hot in that like it's not exactly like Super Hot, because obviously time does continue to move when you're moving or when you're stopped.
It's that kind of UI presentation they were going for.
And
gotcha.
You know, like when you run on walls, time slows down. It's all about doing like really cool tricks with guns and action and stuff, but it has kind of like a Super Hot vibe to it. It has this like stylized art style to it, which is cool. And and you're like jumping around trying to kick dudes, and it gives you objectives to move through from room to room to room. I don't know if this demo that we played is more of kind of like a tutorial mode, or if this is what actual levels of the game are going to feel like, because it almost felt like kind of like Metal Gear Solid VR missions to me, where it's like this is more of just like get used to moving through the world, but that might just be how the game is. I don't know. But it's pretty dope. Although it's kind of hard to. It moves at such a fast pace, and
Mhm.
I don't think the levels are quite big enough to like really uh like when you move and you're moving so quickly, you go from one side of the map to the other really quickly. So it's kind of hard to like feel very I'm trying to figure out how to say this. And it's kind of hard to feel like you were doing all these things intentionally. It's just kind of like rolling
Sure.
with it and just kind of reacting to things and hope cool
Yeah.
shit happens.
I
Nick, didn't you just describe life?
Yes, I
Yes.
did actually. This is the game of life with guns.
Very much. No, I mean, I think you had a better time with this than me because I completely forgot like early on into playing that I could actually slow down time. So I was
By
kind of
sliding.
treating it as like this very fast run based shooter. And
Yeah,
I
which
think I
kind of
would have had
misses
a
the
better
point. I
time
feel
if it.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I there's several times where I forgot that because when you slide on your knees, like everything slows down. If you run up
Yeah.
to a wall, you'll like do the thing where you wall run, and then you can jump off the wall and you can like kick. But when you jump, it goes into slow mo, and then you can like kick dudes in the face, and that feels really nice. So and it's all about just doing like really trying to do is really cool shit. Like you'll see like dudes
This
jumping off of balconies, and you can like slide on your knees and like shoot them while they're going over you, and that's just a really cool feeling. But
So, through watching the footage, I see how you could get super hot vibes from this game in the sense that it seems to be like kind of yelling instructions at you in big white letters like super
yeah,
hot or like like oh do this whatever, and like at this point it was like kill them all, like and the
yeah.
last one was like get out, like I can see that kind of feeling of especially super hot mind control delete, where
Hmm.
it's every single level is kind of a different goal.
Yeah.
As obviously in this one, it seems to be
Very
kill them all
simple
in most, but
goals in
it
this
seemed like in
one.
the last one, it was like destroy those big red things.
Well, it's also
So
in like the
yeah,
presentation of like the way the world is laid out. It's very like minimal color variance going on,
mhm.
very flat textures and things like that. So
Yeah,
Uh, and it's actually comical. Like when you kick doors, like no matter what angle you come at it or how fast you come at the door, if you kick it, it flies off its hinges and just
hinges.
goes
Yeah,
straight back until it hits something,
yes,
including people, which is funny.
nice.
But yeah, it seems to me just like a game about trying to do as much cool shit as you can in a fairly small amount of time. And when you do pull off cool shit, it feels really nice. But when you don't, when you kind of get out of sync with the game and you're just kind of like making mistake after mistake after mistake, you really start to feel really terrible at the game. um,
yeah.
Gotcha.
so it's fun. It's certainly fun. I don't know how much, you know, I don't know if it has like legs to it
Staying
necessarily.
power.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
it's not like super hot. I think is legitimately brilliant because of how you can make the experiences as slow or fast as you want it. This is like
Yeah.
turned up to 10, even when you're going into kind of like slow mo. Like it's always moving, probably faster than you really want it to.
And it can
So
be
Mhm.
particularly punishing because the rules of the game are that if you are in slow mo, enemies will miss you when they're shooting.
that's
But
true. I forgot
Mm.
about that.
any difficulty higher than normal, you don't regenerate health when you kill an enemy. So
Hmm.
That seems
it becomes a
ridiculous.
run based thing.
Yeah, which makes forgetting to slow down time even more punishing than it already is.
Yes.
Um, But yeah, it certainly looks cool. I don't know how this is a demo. It's not out yet. I don't know if it's going to change much between now and release. But it might be something worth checking out again when it comes out. But if you haven't played Super Hot, definitely play Super Hot because that game's
Oh
dope.
yeah.
One of the
What's the
three
next
super
demo?
hot games now. Yeah.
Yes.
Do we want to do one more before we go to break?
Yeah, one more.
Okay. The other one we had in common. They always run.
Yeah. Side-scrolling 2D Metroid-esque game, I think. Kind of challenging. So the weird thing is you're like this assassin that's like I don't know what the story is yet necessarily, but you're like this weird alien assassin dude. You have a third arm. So like in addition to like attacking dudes with your sword, you can like use the shoulder button to like attack with your like your other arm will come out from behind his like flowy cape thing and like attack. So but the cool thing is like if you have dudes coming at you from both sides, and they both go to a hit, you'll see their swords will kind of like flash blue, and if you tap the button, even if there's like 3 dudes around you, if you see the thing flash blue and you hit the button in time, he'll do this like really elaborate like cool thing where he like blocks all of them at the same time and then kills them all at once.
There's some very Arkham cool aspects to like countering and dodging enemies in order to charge up your ability to use your third arm, which can be an instant kill.
Yeah, and it has, I think it has a really cool looking visual style.
It's like a painterly style set in a space western Star Wars thing.
Yeah, and you know what? This is not exactly the same thing, but I would draw comparisons maybe to Mark of the Ninja a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely gonna play this. It looks really cool. I'm really in a Metroid-esque mood right now, probably because of Metroid Dread coming out. And this certainly seems like it might have what I'm looking for. It's kind of challenging. I think it relies pretty heavily on getting timing right on those third arm blocks and shit. The counters.
Yeah, there's some balance issues when it comes to dodging versus actually countering, especially for some specific enemies.
But it looks like it's going to have like a cool
flow
world
of combat. Like, it looks like there's going to be plenty of variety to the enemies, what you can expect in encounters. And just like, again, the art style and the animation is just so good.
The fighting animations are especially cool, but it's also just kind of like the last game we talked about. When you do start fucking up, man, you feel so bad at this game. Like, you just
like in this footage we're watching right here.
Yeah, you could be like blocking shit and feeling really dope.
Guy.
Yeah, dude, I died twice in a row to the same dude because I just fell out of sync with like the flow. Like I was going great for a while, and then all of a sudden I ran into this dude, and I just like missed block after block after block, and he just kept hitting me. And then when you get hit, it like you go into this like stunned animation for a second, and then it just kind of throws you off, and then you go to try and you try to like counter that, and you fuck up again, and it just becomes a cycle, and that kind of sucks. But really cool art style, really cool vibe to it. I like the third arm thing. I hope that kind of becomes more like you build on that, maybe get some cool abilities. You can throw shit like you'll be running.
Leg. Why does he have 3 arms?
I don't know. I mean, I think he's an alien. I think it's like Star Wars. He's just like some weird alien species with 3 arms.
Yeah, you're a mutant character, and you're not the only one out there with a third arm, and you don't know why you have a third arm.
Yeah, the demo opens basically in like Mos Eisley Cantina. You're like in a bar, and there's these rough dudes like having a conversation, and you kind of just walk up, and they're like, "Hey, get out of here. We're gonna throw you out." And he's just like being all badass about it, and then just like you throw down with everybody in the bar. Like, I don't know, it's cool. Yeah, and it has a cool vibe to it.
And there's 2 things I really want to mention, because I'm kind of like infatuated with this aspect. Since your character is a bounty hunter, what you can do is scan an environment around enemies, and sometimes characters will have bounties. And once you take them out, you can like turn them in, like have them teleported to the authorities.
You heard it here first. This game is Prey 2.
Kind of, yeah. And then that aspect also extends to the bosses, and that actually affects the game's narrative. At the end of this demo, you can choose to, because when you're fighting a boss, you can choose to actually take out their health or their consciousness, knock them out. And then you can transport the body to your ship to take them back to the authorities and sell them. And you don't just sell them to the police, you can actually sell them to like the mafia and things like that. And that affects your reputation and potentially opens up new avenues for new contracts and clients. That sounds really cool.
It's cool. You know what? I keep thinking of games that this reminds me of, but like not exactly. I said Mark of the Ninja before, and now I'm thinking, now he's bringing up the bounty hunter aspect of it, and I'm like thinking about Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, but not exactly the same, obviously, because that game has a lot of other things going for it, but like, I don't know. I think this game has a lot of fucking potential. I'm going to play it. It's called They Always Run. So,
and they do a good name drop for the title.
Yes. That they do. All right, so we're going to take a quick break.
Is he fighting someone and they get scared and they run away, and he's like, they always run?
Yes.
Basically.
Pretty much. I can figure it. Like,
but you know what? No one. It may have been predictable, but it was still pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do a few more demos. we had a news topic, and then we'll answer some questions until it's time to wrap up. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Before we get on to news and questions and all that, we still have a couple more demos from Steam Next we want to cover. So just like we did at the end of the last segment, Chris Davis, let's continue down our little list here. What is next on your list?
Okay, so let me prep it real quick. But let me start with a delightful little game called I Am Fish.
Oh my god, this is such a Chris Davis game. I can already tell.
This game is like something that
that actually looks cool.
So the idea is that this is from the creators of I Am Bread, the game where
the other Chris Davis game,
the game that had a delightful soundtrack, and the whole idea was that it was like QWOP with toast, to where you were a sentient piece of bread that was trying to get toasted and turned into toast. The idea is that they took that same kind of formula and made it about a goldfish in a little aquarium bowl, fish bowl. Yeah. So the game's about you're this little goldfish that had a bunch of friends that was living together in an aquarium. This is Finding Nemo, basically, the game. And they all got sold separately. And so the little fish one day figures out, hey, I can push against the glass of this bowl and I can roll around. And that's both the story and the gameplay mechanic.
Are you trying to find your fish friends?
Yes.
Is this like Homeward? Is this kind of like Homeward Bound, but you're a fish trapped in a fish bowl?
Pretty much, yes.
You ever get to go outside?
You have to do this before you die, right? Because fish do need oxygen, and in a closed environment like that, you're gonna die.
I mean, that's not a consideration of this game. You can die because your glass bowl can break if you like fall from high enough distance, or if you just hit an object too fast.
This is like rolling around in like outside San Francisco.
Yes.
Like you start out in this. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, you're in this level. That I think this is the introductory level to the game. You are rolling along the rooftops of San Francisco trying to get to the bay.
You know, I will say, Brad popped in the chat. It's funny because Chris Davis picked the exact moment that Brad decided to show up for the live recording to talk about a quote-unquote meme game, as he says. But while this is from the creators of I Am Bread, which is absolutely a meme game, this seems much more like a fully realized concept to me. I mean, you know, the other one was just like for the lulz, right? You're playing as a piece of toast. This is like
you're playing as a piece of bread.
Yeah, you're playing as a piece of bread trying to become toast. Yes.
This is you literally a fish trapped in a fishbowl, and you're trying to navigate the treacherous streets of San Francisco to find your friends. Like that sounds like a fully realized concept to me. I don't know how deep it gets, but
I mean, I Am Bread was really fun, not just for the gameplay, but also the meta narrative that was going on, because it was actually a sentient loaf of bread that was trying to become toast, and it was slowly driving the homeowner crazy.
But see, that's the meme part of it right there, though.
I mean, yeah, it was also the prequel to Surgeon Simulator, but that's beside the point. But yeah, this game is all about like Marble Madness mechanics of rolling this bowl around and trying to get to objectives. At this level it is very linear, and that's probably on purpose just to introduce mechanics. But I'm getting the feeling, based on the fact that you can actually survive outside your bowl for a few seconds, that there's going to be more expanded gameplay. Like you'll be able to navigate to another bowl, or be able to escape the one you're in right now.
See, I can see this being a really cool concept, and ultimately, but I think if there's only one correct way to navigate to like solve the problem or solve the puzzle or beat the level or whatever you want to call it, I feel like that it's going to make it feel very limited and make it feel more like a quote unquote meme game, like an I Am Bread. But if this is more like an open environment and you can just kind of explore and find multiple ways to get to the objective and creative ways to get to the objective, then this could be really neat.
I think they're going to go that route. So the seashells that you see that popping up are the checkpoints for, getting along
the
in
fact
the
that
level.
It has checkpoints. I mean, I guess it kind of has to have checkpoints one way or the other. But the fact that it has pre-placed checkpoints makes me think it's kind of linear. But like there's cool like the
You're dead.
The
I'm
things
dead.
they put. What's the word I'm looking for? The obstacles they put in front of you seem creative, like having to like roll down the telephone wires and like cross the street with cars going and stuff in this book. Like it seems neat, but it does seem open. But who knows if it's going to be that way? Looks cool though.
I'm hopeful. Again, the I Am Bread may have been a mean game, whatever by your definition, but like it was very fun to play and it had a delightful soundtrack. So that's
just have
probably
one
the
question
aspect
for
I'm
you,
looking forward to
Davis.
the most.
I didn't play I Am Bread,
Yeah.
but do you find QWOP to be a particularly fun game to play?
No, hell no. That game is way too fucking tough.
All right, you passed the test.
I wouldn't put like I Am Bread and QWOP in the same kind of genre or even difficulty.
It kind of is, but more whatever. We can move on. What's the next game on the list?
The next game I would like to talk about. Let's do Okinawa Rush.
Okinawa Rush. Okay.
Okinawa Rush is a side-scrolling beat 'em up game in which you're playing as a samurai trying to rescue your children after your children are kidnapped, and some bad guys murder your wife. It's got it almost reminds me of kind of Metal Slug as far as like the animation quality going on. Not necessarily like that animation quality, but like the visual representation there. But I think the most fun aspect of this game so far is just the combat and the feedback of beating up tons of ninjas and monsters. So
seems like that would kind of be the most important thing, considering the style of game that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. The cool thing is that they kind of they built like a custom fighting game engine just for the combat, even though it's not a fighting game. So like button combination and motions will trigger different special moves and things like that. And they really play into like the kind of brutality of just how physical and how much of a master you are at your craft. But again, like Metal Slug, you're going through the levels and you're rescuing civilians and getting gems to power up your character and collecting weapons that you find along the map. One of the most delightful things for me is that everyone knows that classic movie sound effect of like twirling a nunchuck, and they use that sound effect in here, and they play into that like for a lot of the weapon design, going into classic kind of ninja movies and B movies that feature a lot of martial arts and kind of those weapons. They use those kind of sound effects.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, those classic stock sounds, and they use them in here.
This
They
is
use
kind of
them
cool.
real well.
He just kicked the ninja into a wall and like damaged the wall. I don't know if that was like indicating that there's like a hidden room back there or something, but like when you kick the dude into the wall, all of a sudden it just like indented into the wall, which looked kind of cool. But
yeah, that becomes a thing about finding secrets that are hidden throughout the levels too.
Well, then I think you just missed a secret room.
Yeah, I did. I didn't realize it at the time, so thank you for pointing that out. I saw the demo.
It's cool that you found it by like fighting a dude, and then that kind of led to you discovering new spaces. But I don't know. It looks neat. It looks like it might need some work on some of its like some of its jumping animations and whatnot look kind of. They're a little unruly. And maybe
like
it's just a product of the time of the game, of the kinds of games it's trying to emulate, because it seems very retro in that regard. But
I think they're going for that, especially kind of how like the game slows down when you're beating up a lot of enemies and they suddenly die. Like I feel like that's on purpose, and it kind of plays into just like that feeling of just how powerful you can be. And I really like that aspect. I'm looking forward to it. The writing
What's
is
it called
fun.
again?
Okinawa Rush.
Okinawa Rush.
I don't know exactly what the rush aspect is to the game, but so far the game seems like it's going to be pretty fun.
Well, you can find out and report back when a game finally does come out.
I look forward to it. I think it's this year. I don't know for certain. Next game that I want to talk about, and this one I think is going to be pretty special, actually. Road 96. We've seen a few trailers for this game.
I downloaded this demo and then I fucking missed it. I didn't realize Steam Next was going to end as early as it did, and I missed my chance to play it.
Oh, dude, man, you missed out on something pretty enticing for what could be here. So the idea is that you are trying to get to the border of your country. It's the year 1996. There's a contentious presidential election going on that is looking to change the makeup of the country.
In a bad way.
In a bad way. And the government is rounding up pretty much any people like you, teenagers who are trying to escape the country. And it's all about traveling to the border and having conversations with people, really well-written, well-acted conversations, and choosing your way through how to find your way alive to the border.
So are you picking up like hitchhikers? Is that what's happening here? Or like what's the like...
I think this is like one of the starting areas in which you actually have a car and you're trying to escape to the border. But it looks like the majority of the game is about hitchhiking and finding ways to get there.
So the entirety of the game does not take place in the confines of a vehicle.
No. Well, a lot of the game will take place in the confines of a vehicle, but whether you're driving or if you're in the back seat and just having conversations, it's going to vary. Like this initial area, I'm talking to this girl who's an aspiring game programmer. And as you're driving along very dangerously along the road, you're talking with her about her game that she's making and kind of improving it, and she'll pay you based on how it's doing. And then you have this deep conversation about her parents who evidently were killed in a bombing like 10 years ago. And it's very sad.
You know, this is giving me kind of like, well, this might be just because of kind of the visual style they went with, but like kind of Firewatchy maybe. I don't know.
That was very. Why is Toothless in your rearview mirror?
Toothless. I just noticed that. I have no idea what that's about.
Train Your Dragon.
Is that like a demon in the backseat? What is happening?
That's probably like a toy or something like that. Yeah, but it kind of does look like Toothless. But yeah, this is one. The whole game is about randomized order of scenarios that you can encounter yourself in. I think for the purposes of the demo, there's like 5 or 6 different encounters you can get based on what you do. In the second encounter beyond this, I end up at a gas station where there's another hitchhiker, and the guy who owns the gas station notices and realizes I'm one of the runaways, and threatens to call the cops if I don't pump gas for him.
Is that a euphemism?
No, like he wants me to work the service station.
Is that a euphemism?
And then based on how well you actually pump gas, he may or may not call the cops and call you out.
Oh my God.
Like this game, like based on some of the footage they put out and like what I've seen of this demo, like there's potentially some dark shit going on. Just beyond the nature of this.
The general premise sounds like it's some pretty dark shit, but it does look really cool. This is
really
one of the ones
does.
I was really bummed to have missed.
Like there was one scenario I saw where you were getting a ride from a taxi driver, and the taxi driver is like really obsessed with dinosaurs for some reason. And when at a certain point, like he promises like, I won't get mad if you say you don't like dinosaurs. And if you say no, he's like, what? And he just turns to you and like this anger meter just shows up. And after a certain point, he just like pulls the car over, and like the way he's talking, it sounds like he's just about to fucking murder you. Like I don't know.
I feel personally attacked.
I mean, I kind of felt personally attacked too, but I don't know, man. This looks like it's going to be like a Life is Strange, like one of those kind of special talky games that you end up seeing on a ton of Game of the Year lists.
Cool. Well, is this coming out this year? Do we know?
I believe so. I don't remember exactly what the date is, but I think it is this year. Yeah.
All right. Well, again, and remind us, what is it called? It's Road 96?
Road 96.
Cool. All right. What's next?
Next, one of the last two games I want to talk about is something I think you might be interested in Nick. It's called Tormented Souls.
It sounds like my jam.
This game looks to be a gigantic love letter to kind of early 2000s horror games like Fatal Frame, specifically like Resident Evil, the remake. There's a lot of Resident Evil in this game.
It is dark as hell in this footage.
Oh, well, that's the thing about this game is that so you play a young woman who gets sent like this photo in the mail, supposedly sent from like an abandoned hospital out in the middle of nowhere, out in the middle of the woods, which certainly doesn't look like a certain mansion we are familiar with out in the middle of the woods. She gets knocked out.
Why would anybody go to that place?
I mean, she had a mystery that she couldn't sleep. She couldn't get over just like what was going on. So she had to go investigate.
I'm going to say right out of the gate, the writing seems a little loose. Like,
yeah, no, the writing is a little
interesting
loose.
way to get her to this place.
The entire performance of the game is that kind of ham-fisted, late 90s, early 2000s. You clearly weren't putting money into the acting.
Voice acting.
Yes. But yeah, she gets knocked out. She wakes up a couple days later, naked in a tub, and one of her eyes has been cut out, and she's got like nothing with her. So she has to figure out like how to survive in this place and figure out what the fuck is going on.
Okay, well, that's took a even darker turn than I was expecting.
Oh, it's dark as fuck. It's dark as shit. So yeah, the one thing about this game is that the lighting is really important. A lot of the areas are not lit up, so you have to find a lighter and you have to go through these environments trying to feel your way through them. And it's like I said, the lighting effects in this game are surprisingly good.
I mean, I really like when horror games take darkness seriously. Like because there's a lot of games where it's like, okay, this room is dark, but we've made it so that you can still kind of see what's in the room, even though the implication is that the lights are out.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I like it when horror games like lights are out. That means you can't see shit, and that's important. And this certainly looks like that. They
really play into that. The combat in the game, there is combat, and it is very that classic tank control, Resident Evil combat. But you're not necessarily fighting zombies. You're fighting, I almost want to say you're fighting like enemies from like The Suffering. Just these kind of
so just
warped,
fucked up,
possessed people with like demonic appendages done to them.
Would you call them tormented souls?
I would say they are probably tormented souls. But the visual design, it doesn't leave a lot to be enticed by the enemies. You do feel like threatened by them when you eventually do encounter them. But what's
how dangerous are they? Is it you fight them? Do you just run away? Do you need like weapons to fight them? Or
so they only have like one weapon in the game in this demo, and it was like a nail gun. You didn't really have like a pistol or anything like that to defend yourself. And in your first encounter with an enemy, you do run away because you've got nothing to defend yourself with.
This does seem like a very like a big love letter to classic survival horror. Very Resident Evil, very Silent Hill, which I like.
The puzzle design that they're going with in this is built very strongly around the classic Resident Evil formula of opening your inventory and examining items and interacting with them.
I love that shit.
One of the early puzzles, you have to get out a door that doesn't have a doorknob. So you find a wrench, a monkey wrench, and then you have to manually adjust the monkey wrench in your menu before you can actually lock it to the door and open the door. There's also one of the keys that you get has multiple tumblers on it that you move, and that will form different lock combinations on the dials. I don't know, man.
I just saw a creepy thing in a wheelchair go by in the hot. That was pretty weird.
Yeah,
that kind of freaked me out. I'm not even hearing the audio. It's
they
I'm into
really
it. I'll check
lean.
this out. Apparently, Ichi's kid in chat says the demo is still up, so maybe I'll download this. This looks
I
like
encourage you. It's not bad. Again, there is that kind of, this isn't a full budget kind of Resident Evil clone going on here, but the effort they put into this, it's pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised.
It's an indie love letter, and those things can be special.
Yeah,
when done properly.
Yeah. Like there was a puzzle later on in this footage that I had to cut off because I didn't understand what I was exactly supposed to do, even though the writing was almost literally on the wall. But I think there's going to be a lot of fun with the puzzle design. I think the combat is good enough to make it a challenge. And the horror aspects they're going with aren't just like, biohazards and stuff like that. They're doing like classic ghosts and walking through mirrors and seeing demons and shit.
Creepy priests. I can already see.
Yeah, no, he's this priest talking over a corpse, and yeah. But I think this will be a solid B tier game.
All right, I'll check it out. I'll download the demo. All right, moving right along. Next game. We've still got a couple more of these to hit.
Yes. The last one I really want to talk about is one that y'all probably know about, and I think Nolan will appreciate. It's called Unmetal. This is
we talked about this on the show before, but yeah.
Actually, this was we actually talked about this twice before on the show. Nolan's brought it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, one was a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well, I completely I've slept since then. Then I'll be real quick. The demo, for those that people don't know, is it's a parody of classic 2D Metal Gear games.
OG Metal Gear,
yeah, not Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear. And what they do with it is particularly fun. They play on all the tropes that are going on, as far as like sneaking around and knocking out enemies. But they play well with some of the puzzles. And what I particularly like is the kind of the ham-fisted writing, because the entire game is being told after the fact in like an interrogation room.
Interrogation, yeah.
And in those interrogations, because this is being played back from the memory of your main character, they play into that aspect of the game. So you'll reach certain points to where maybe your character remembers there being one guard instead of two that you can choose from. Sometimes you just won't remember exactly what happened in an area, so it'll be covered in question marks, and you gotta like maybe come back later after you met requirements to actually access that area.
So the narration or the story being told in the interrogation has direct impacts on what you are remembering, because that's what you're playing, is the memory of the event that's happening in the game.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Which is pretty fun. There's also a leveling system that they don't really do a decent job of telling you about. But yeah, you can level up your character by beating up guards without being seen. And every time you level up, you can get like bonus stats, like you can increase your run speed, or it takes 2 hits to knock out a guard instead of 3. But what they're doing, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. And the game is supposed to be out like in August. So I really can't wait to play this.
Looks cool. So unless I'm missing something, does that kind of leave one game left in this, which is the one that I was going to talk about?
I believe so, yes.
Industria. I'll keep this one pretty quick because the demo itself is pretty quick. This is a game that is taking a lot of inspiration from maybe BioShock in its style of play, and in kind of the story and the setting it's going for. the demo is kind of split into two parts. Where at the beginning you're like a scientist. If I'm kind of understanding it, you're like a scientist, and you're trying to activate this machine. It doesn't really tell you what the machine does, but it's almost as if you're a scientist who invented like a time machine, and you're like trying to activate the time machine because something is happening, and you have to escape. And you figure the only way to escape is to activate the machine and go step into it. So I don't really know what's going on there. And it's not super clear, but when you get into the machine and you activate it, some trippy shit happens, and then it says later in the game. So it kind of skips a lot of the context, and then it drops you into this area that feels very Bioshocky. But the idea, and also this takes place. Oh god, I probably should have had notes pulled up in front of. This takes place after the fall of the Berlin Wall, I think, so a lot of that's going to kind of play into, you know, the background of the story and the setup and what's going on in the real world. But you end up going into this like alternative reality when you go into the machine, I guess, and you end up in this really crazy alternate world where like machines have kind of taken over and they're just roaming the streets, and there's all this weird technology and kind of everywhere. But
it sounds like you're trying to pitch us the robot apocalypse meets Singularity.
A little bit. Actually, that seems very accurate. I mean, minus Singularity had the like.
Oh, he said the meme Singularity. Nick likes Singularity.
I do like Singularity.
I like Singularity but, like, too. That was a fun game.
But this doesn't have the like fast forward and rewind time thing that game does. But it has. So it seems very, very similar to another game that is getting a lot of attention, which is Atomic Heart, which looks kind of like BioShock in Russia. This looks like BioShock in alternate Germany. You know what I mean? Like but like I kind of love that shit. I'm a sucker for it, and this looks really rad. Combat feels a lot nicer than I was expecting. It seems like it might need a little work, but obviously a demo, it still could be tightened up quite a bit. What I found to be very strange is that I was going through here, and they kind of give you a bunch of different weapons, not a bunch, but like literally 4 weapons. You can get like this pickaxe, a pistol, a shotgun, and a light machine gun, and they all felt very nice and packed a lot of punch, and it felt very nice in like terms of like maybe not to the same extent, but like it reminded me a little bit of how it felt to shoot things in binary domain, where like robots would like react really nicely and things would fly off.
Flying off, yeah.
And that stuff's really cool. But then I read after I played the demo, and I was like, this is cool. It's going on my wish list. I'm ready to play it. And then I read the description, and the description, strangely, I've never seen this. It said, it kind of did the setup, and it was like, the description laid out kind of what to expect from the game itself, which is maybe good. It's setting expectations, but it's like about 4 hours of play in a linear story based. It's a very weird description, and then it said with 4 unique weapons, and I was like, 4 weapons? I used 4 weapons in the demo. That seems a little strange. So I'm not sure if this is a situation where I literally played with all the guns that are going to be in the game in the demo, which would be strange. But I think it has enough going for it in terms of its setting and its premise and just the general feel of the game that it might still be worth playing. And if it has a really cool story and it kind of elicits that like BioShocky vibe, then fuck it, I'll play it. It seems cool.
A lot of these weird kind of first-person Eastern European games kind of coming out right now. So
I mean, I feel like there's been like this weird like kind of resurgence and interest in like this like BioShock-esque setting, and a lot of it's coming from Eastern developers in Europe and whatnot, and Russia and you know what? That's cool. We haven't had a BioShock game or a BioShock-like game in quite some time, and both this and Atomic Heart look like they're shaping up quite nicely. So I think this is definitely kind of going to be very similar to Atomic Heart, but on a much smaller scale. Like, the fact that I know going into it is going to be about 4 hours of play. It's kind of nice to kind of just know that going in. But if they can tell a good story in 4 hours, I don't care.
I like how clean the presentation is too.
Yeah, and I don't think this is going to be like a $50 game. I think this is probably going to be like a $20 or $30 game, and I feel like that's the right price for something like this, and it looks nice. And I hope they clean up some of the technical issues. It does seem a little buggy when you're playing through it, or maybe that's just my graphics card struggling to keep up. And goddamn, I need a new graphics card. But
Since it's robots, instead of "would you kindly," does he just say like "pseudo"?
I don't get that joke, Nolan.
I don't get that joke.
Oh
Is this
Sorry.
a Nolan? Is this a programming joke?
no!
What is this?
Don't worry about it. Smart people will get it.
Oh, boo this man. Boo this man. Okay.
How rude.
Well, that's going to do it for our demos from Steam Next. Like I said, there is a ton of stuff to play out there. So, and some of the, like a lot of these demos, maybe not a lot of them, but there are probably a good chunk of those demos that are still available. So go exploring on Steam. There's lots of cool stuff out there. And that event was kind of a good way to bring some of those to light. So check them out. We'll include the names in the show notes too. But now, before we get to questions, there was a news topic I wanted to bring up. Just briefly, get your thoughts on it. Because it was announced. So E3 just happened, and EA has not participated in E3 for a few years, or a couple years now. And they are one of the companies, kind of like Sony, that's just been, we're going to do our own separate thing. So they've been planning their EA event, which is going to be July 22nd. Honestly, didn't really feel like I had a reason to be excited about this kind of thing. Historically speaking, EA's press conferences, when they were a part of E3, were just like the fucking worst. They every year it's like they announce some cool game, and instead of showing
like soccer?
they always have like a 30-minute thing about soccer. And
let's
then
interview Pele. Yeah, because we want that.
Pele. And then let's announce a game that everybody wants to hear about, and then just show, instead of showing footage of the said game, let's show footage of developers developing the game and talking about the game. You can kind of see it in the background while playing on their computer, but we're not going to focus on that. And it's, they're going for a different approach, whatever. But and I assumed this new July event is going to be very Battlefield focused, probably, and it probably still is. But it's EA has come out. I think EA actually made this official and said that they have plans to bring back a fan favorite franchise at this event. And there is a source who has I forgot his first name. His last name is Grubb, I think. Someone might
Jeff Grubb?
fact check me on Jeff Grubb. Thank you. Who has been correct before, and kind of he has inside sources, and he's pinned some of these announcements ahead of time before and been correct. And seems like he's dropping very not so subtle hints that this is probably Dead Space. And one, I want to know, just you guys here, how likely you think that is, and whether that excites you, because it's not Visceral. Visceral does not really exist in the same sense anymore. The rumor is that this is actually EA Motive, who has done work on several different franchises, including Battlefield before, but a lot of the stuff that they've done, I think, has been pretty well received.
Well, the last thing they did was the campaign for Battlefront 2.
And how was that? I don't remember. And
Battlefield
has never been known for...
And pretty expected for all the twists and turns. So,
but like Battlefield has never really been a franchise known for its campaign or its single player campaign.
Well, no, Battlefront, not Battlefield.
Oh,
so
Star
Wars. Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
also, very different kind of game, and also mimicking Battlefield. It's like people didn't play Battlefront necessarily for the campaign mode, so
people played Battlefront 2 for its campaign mode because that was the most hyped up aspect of Battlefront 2.
They were all fools.
They were all fools because it was a transparent as shit, kind of like writings on the wall campaign of exactly all the beats and tropes that they were going to play into.
Right.
I was so disappointed by that campaign.
But technically speaking, it was technically sound, wasn't it? Like it was a well-made campaign, if not a little rote, if I remember correctly.
A fair amount of it was well produced.
This is me trying to be positive and not wanting my hopes and dreams crushed. The problem here is that Visceral doesn't exist anymore. So it's either Dead Space comes back with different people at the helm, or Dead Space doesn't come back. And Dead Space is one of those franchises that I have loved and adored for a very long time. Hasn't really been around in years. And Dead Space 3 was not a great way to end the franchise, but Dead Space 1 or 2 are still both beloved games, myself included. And you know what? The rumor that kind of going along with this is not only is this EA Motive doing Dead Space, but it's also kind of like a new approach, like a rebooted Dead Space, where it's not Isaac Clarke, it's not necessarily.
I kind of hope that's not the case.
You want it to be more Isaac Clarke?
Yes, I like Isaac Clarke as a character. I think 3 has a very good setup for a fourth game. The main concern I have is the kind of gameplay they're going for. Are they going for a third person? Or are they going to stick with do a first person?
Here's the thing. Dead Space is so integral, or just so integrated with third person, especially because of the things that make it very identifiable are like the health pack that you can always see on his back, and
absolutely, yes,
and that kind of thing. And I think there are ways to do that in first person, but I don't necessarily think that's probably what they're going to go for. Especially, if they're bringing back Dead Space and it's a new team, I don't think they don't want to venture too far from what made it Dead Space. I personally hope that it retains those kinds of qualities, but maybe. I'm hoping for a new character. I'm hoping for maybe a new, like, very unique setting. Like, I'm thinking about like necromorphs on like an alien planet in like jungles and shit. Like, go wild. Like, don't just be another Dead Space on like a dark ship floating through space necessarily. I mean, that can happen. But do something wild with it. But I'm also just thinking about Dead Space as a franchise existing in a post like Resident Evil 2 remake world, because I feel like the success of Resident Evil remake and like the recent resurgence of Resident Evil in general is kind of what's paved the way for them to EA even consider bringing this back. And there's also the other possibility that we're all wrong and it's not Dead Space, and I'm going to be very, very sad. What else could it be? What else does EA have that are
they have a gigantic back catalog of IPs that they could be adapting? It could be fucking anything, man.
Fan favorite though. You gotta. They wouldn't say that unless it was something very big, very recognizable.
I mean, yeah, but there again, that could be a ton of things because they have had a lot of hit franchises.
Guys, I'm worried.
Did anyone even like Dead Space?
What? I hate you, Nolan. Guys, I'm worried that like all this like recent talk about like re-releasing the remastered Crysis games means this is going to be like Crysis 4 or something.
It's not Crysis. I'm telling you right now, it's not Crysis. Crysis would be developed and self-published by Crytek. They completely own it. EA has none of it.
Okay, I wasn't totally aware of that. That's great to hear.
And there are already Crysis remasters on the way anyway, so...
It would be so funny if it was Crysis.
I hate you, Chris. Don't say that. Don't fucking say that. I just wanted to bring it up because I am now officially very excited and also very scared for July 22nd. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
I'm personally of the opinion that if it's not Dead Space, Jeff Grubb is very reliable. He usually has the inside scoop on a lot of good stuff. If they were going to do a fan favorite franchise like that, I'd say the other likely candidate is Command and Conquer. Because last year they put out the remasters of Tiberian Dawn and Red Alert. Petroglyph has been working on something. And it's probably Command and Conquer 5, probably. So...
Didn't EA Motive also do Squadrons? Or am I thinking of something else? Who's the team that did Star Wars Squadrons, the VR game?
Don't remember. Hang on.
I think you're right.
Ooh. Well, that game was pretty cool.
All I know is that I don't want it to be a fucking Star Wars game.
Well,
it was Motive. Yeah, it was
Star
Motive.
Wars is back? You're saying they're bringing Star Wars back?
Well, I don't think they're going to say it's a fan favorite franchise and say Star Wars, because that could be any number of things, and Star Wars definitely never went away.
We hear people like Star Wars.
I mean, hey, they don't necessarily have to say fan favorite. Could mean like a IP within an IP. Like they could be bringing back TIE Fighter. They could bring back Republic Commando. Things like that. Like they brought back Battlefront. That doesn't mean they can't bring back another Star Wars franchise. They could bring back Pod Racer if they wanted. God help us, please no. Right.
But you know what gives me hope, because EA for so long has kind of gotten away from these kinds of games, but like in the past like 5 or 6 years, that has started to swing back in the other direction. We got Jedi Fallen Order. which, while not my favorite Star Wars game, for its like story reasons, was absolutely the kind of game I want to see more of in the Star Wars franchise.
It was very competent.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say it was more than competent. It's a great video game. There are certain things that didn't gel with me as far as characters and story go, but absolutely I want to see more. I want to see more of that. Maybe less, Battlefront type, because we got plenty of those. Do interesting things with the franchise. So then they released Mass Effect Collector's Edition. They announced Mass Effect 4. They announced Dragon Age 4. So it's like for a long time they were very much moving away from like these single player story driven type games, and now it's just different. The whole ecosystem is different, and they're starting to kind of come back around on making these kinds of games because those games did very well for them. So this absolutely could be a return to Dead Space as a, single player horror game that exists in it. It's like they see how Capcom is doing with Resident Evil, and they're like, we want a piece of that, and we got a franchise we've been sitting on for a long time that could very easily be our Resident Evil. So I'm hoping that's what this is, and all signs point to yes. So we'll see. But if it's not, I won't be here on July 22nd. I'll be crying. Okay, let's get to some questions. And it's been a couple weeks since we've answered questions. I highlighted some for you, Nolan, but do whatever you want. Go wild.
Oh yeah, let's definitely get some. I went through some of the ones you highlighted. There's some pretty good ones in there, Nick.
Cool. Again, so if you guys are a supporter on Patreon or Twitch and you want to ask us questions for the show, we don't answer them in order necessarily, and we may not answer your question right away, but we will get to all the questions eventually. You can go to patreon.com/4Player, or you can subscribe on Twitch, and that'll give you access to our supporters channel in Discord, where I have pinned the link to the form where you can submit your questions. So with that said, Nolan, hit us.
All right, let's get to this one kind of newsy related one for that was recently asked from Alex, also known as One Mr. Boy. Facebook this week announced that it will start testing running ads in the middle of games on the Oculus.
Oof.
Advertisements in games aren't anything new, although the thought of targeted ads integrated in the world of a game is actually a bit interesting, if not also terrifying. Thinking optimistically, what are some of the cool ways that some games could use this to help build for their worlds more organically and personally?
So my first reaction, as I said, is oof, because, obviously, especially when you're in a VR space, like I didn't really know what to think immediately about like what format. Like, is it kind of like you have to watch an ad in your VR headset before it lets you play a game, or are they integrating it into a game world? And that could be both really cool to see if it's just like walking through a virtual world and like billboards and stuff that would be normally made up shit or real shit.
Yeah.
That could be both cool, and also it could also just yank you right out of the immersion. You know what I mean? And it also just feels kind of gross.
There are ways it could be done. If you start looking at more modern, and I want to say, it's kind of like the joke a while back about, someone wrote an article, something about like, AOC, and other members and, representatives in government. Should we see more millennials in these positions? So it's like, well, that's how fucking time works, man. That's going to happen. As more millennials are starting to take over, like, brands accounts, they've started getting like the whole like Wendy shit. If it's not just an ad that's like, oh, the Wendy's Baconator, but you know what I'm saying, if it's like a subtle kind of thing where it's like an advertisement for a product, but it's not just like buy Old Spice, you know what I'm saying? If it's like, if it's worked in a way, whatever. I understand advertisement's a thing. I used to be super uppity back in the day with ads on YouTube. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Why am I watching an ad? But then like growing up, that's like all you watch a TV show, but then there was like 5 minutes of ads, and now I'm complaining because I have to watch a 5-second ad. I'm like, what? My time is worth so much. I can't look at your product for 5 seconds.
This is
like I've
this
kind of
is the
started to
world
get
we
over
live
it.
in. This is the world we live in now.
I've kind of started to get over it. Like people need money. And
Yeah.
one way they get it is advertisements.
And
I
if
see
they
Crispy
do
making
the
faces
ad in
at
such
me.
a way that entertains me, then
Dude,
okay, I'll allow it.
Come on.
What's up, Crispy?
That's just no. This is unalloyed bad.
I mean, I'm just thinking
We
about
shouldn't
like
be
walking...
excited or making excuses for
I didn't
yet
say I'm
another
excited.
stream to
No,
be
absolutely.
advertised to. Like, this is just bad and dumb, and we live in a hell world.
It's a question of how invasive it is. Like, if I'm playing a first-person game and I can pick up a branded bottle of Gatorade for my character and drink it, then
when you say it out loud,
I can tolerate that kind of ad.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It could be a lot worse.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm
a hell of a lot better too.
Oh okay. Yeah, heck yeah.
Hear me out for a second. Because I'm with Crispy. I'm kind of with Nolan. But when Chris Davis just started saying it out loud, I felt real gross. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you, Nick.
I'm thinking not. It was mostly just like hearing somebody say it out loud. And, like,
cool product placement. I buy this in the real life. Like,
I'm also thinking about like
God.
I'm thinking about like how it would work, right? Especially like I'm thinking about playing like Half-Life Alyx, and I'm walking through the streets of City 17, and all of a sudden, I look
you want to be like crawling through a fucking burned out McDonald's and like be like, how could you get a quarter pounder for lunch?
I'm like walking through the subway in City 17, and I look to my left, and there's a huge wall banner for like Trojan condoms or something. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's gross. It's gross.
If it's like personalized ads, I think that's just so much worse.
That's different. Personalized is a little bit different for me. Like advertisement. That's a thing. It's never going to go away. The reason it's not because it makes companies money. Like it will, beyond a shadow of a doubt, putting out an ad will make them money. So they're going to keep doing it. It's never going to go away. The way we consume media has changed. So the way people deliver ads to us has to change to meet that. Because as of right now, 90% of ads are going to old fucks who aren't going to buy the products. So they have to find ways to advertise to younger people who aren't consuming just cable television.
True.
It's a fact. What's up, Crispy? You envision a world where there's no ads ever?
I would like.
You can't go down that rabbit hole.
like without capitalism, that would be cool. Yeah, for sure.
So there's no capitalism.
Nolan.
We're not doing this. Oh my god.
I'm John Smith. I've created a product. It's a great product. Well, no, this is a legitimate question. I need to sell this product. How do I let people know that I've spent my hard-earned time building this really fantastic product and I need to sell it to people? But how do I let them know it exists?
I think maybe the argument here is that maybe don't force it into people's entertainment experiences. Like,
yeah, it's okay to just be like, this is gross and dumb. Like, that's not like that. That's not a more moral position to be like, oh, but the advertisers.
Yeah, I mean, the best kind of advertising that you could possibly make that everyone playing a game would be satisfied with is the kind of advertising that you don't really notice. Like kind of blends into the background, like
subliminal advertising.
Well, I'm thinking more like, like back in the 70s and the 80s when there was product placement, but it wasn't like the primary focus of what you were watching. Like there will be a Pepsi machine in the background as characters are talking or walking down the hallway, things like that. Not like
instead of a camera focusing in on something like in Death Stranding when he picks up the Gatorade and the camera has to look over his shoulder at what he's looking at.
It's not even Death Stranding. Like fucking look at Final Fantasy 15, where every camping trip you do, you have to Coleman everywhere, and then Cup of Noodles. Like I get it.
Sponsored by Cup Noodle.
Yeah, also, I get it.
Also, let's not forget just how much that. The fact that we're still talking about that in a game that we don't really talk about Final Fantasy 15 very much anymore, outside of the fact that we just remember the fucking Coleman and Cup of Noodle shit. Hey, real quick, we need to move on, but as an addendum to this story, I do remember seeing a update to that story that the developer that was starting to test this out has since started to recant and roll back or at least delay looking into this because of the sheer amount of negative feedback he was getting.
On it.
But
Good.
the fact that he was starting to test this, because people had the very same kind of reaction Crispy's referring to, and rightfully so. Like, it's just walking. You got to find a sweet spot, and I don't think shoving it into games is necessarily the sweet spot. But anyways, next question.
Next question from Chai Tai. A new version of the fighting game Melty Blood was announced today. So, by the way, this is a very old question.
This is from March,
Yeah, was announced today after almost 10 years since the last. The game has an infamous history of being played in the most inappropriate locations due to how easy it was to run on PC. In particular, bathrooms of major tournaments and hotels. Do you game in the bathroom? If so, what kind of game? And have you ever achieved something like defeating a difficult boss or playing an online match while in the bathroom?
That was a big shift.
Not typically. I'm usually too busy in there.
I've said this before, and this might be unique to me. I don't know, but if I'm like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and I'm gonna bring my Switch because I could be in there a while. I'm gonna try and get something done. Right, the moment I decide I'm gonna try and get something done in the bathroom, it's over and done. Doesn't happen. Not enough time. Can't accomplish anything. So no, I don't. I've given up on that a long time ago. I do not play games in the bathroom.
No.
I'll do some like phone games sometimes. Like I have there's like a Picross style game I play on my phone, but that's easy because it's like super quick to like. I'll just do like a couple little lines or something like that. But that's really it. I've done a few of that, but yeah, I don't bring like Switch or anything like that.
Be one of those situations where it's like you go into the bathroom, you bring your Switch, and then like you're done in the bathroom, but you're like, but I'm still playing this level, so you just sit there for like another like 20 minutes. With your Switch. I feel like Brad has brought this question up, or this exact topic up many times, and would probably have
Brad has
a pretty
at least a quarter of Brad's Switch time is on the pooper. All right.
Fair enough.
Let's move on. Next question from Henry from Birmingham, Alabama. The gaming landscape has started to see some radical changes in monetization in the past several years, from microtransactions to loot boxes, battle passes, and most recently, subscription-based models like Game Pass. What do you think the gaming landscape will look like in the next 5 years? Will the recent positive reception to Game Pass lead to a streaming-focused ownership of games? Will we continue to buy physically? Will other current monetization schemes be completely phased out? Or even something completely different?
I think that one of the first things we're going to see is a series of games that is going to be only available on these subscription services and never otherwise. In fact, I think Microsoft may have just announced a Game Pass exclusive game that will never be sold otherwise.
I could see them doing something like that.
That's the kind of thing. Especially if you want Game Pass itself to kind of become its own platform, if you want, and not to mention, I was listening to the Giant Bombcast this week, and they were having a conversation that's kind of similar to this, and they were talking about, and I don't really keep my finger on the pulse of that kind of thing very closely, but and it doesn't surprise me to hear that like Microsoft is thinking about other ways to integrate Game Pass into other devices, so that you don't even have to have an Xbox. I mean, they're talking about using like cloud streaming and stuff, and maybe even the future is like integrating an app into like your Roku or your smart TV or something, so that all you really need to have is like a controller and a subscription to play these games without even needing to own hardware.
They
pushed an update like Luna
this week
or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, I think, and even though like Stadia was a really, really rough launch, I think Stadia was just ahead of its time, because none of these things are really going to take root like in any real significant way until internet access is more universal and consistent across the board. But I think we will get there, and I think when we get there, that will kind of instigate the shift that we're talking about here. And it might eventually start. It might start as like you can buy hardware, or you can have a subscription, and you can use it on any number of devices. But maybe the real future of gaming is phasing out hardware completely and everything is a subscription service. So like you have a Hulu subscription, you have an Xbox subscription, and that's where you play your games.
I think that's kind of going to be it. I could see it going one of multiple ways. I know Nvidia has their system. I forget what it's called.
GeForce Now, I think.
Yeah, GeForce Now. So it's not a streaming. Sorry, it's not a subscription service. I think you can pay for it. But what it essentially is I buy a game on like Steam or something. So I own it over here, but now I can stream it via Nvidia's cloud service.
Yeah.
So you have to link like Nvidia's service to Steam so they know you own this game, and then they allow you to stream it to, yeah, like you said, like a Roku or whatever, like the Nvidia Shield box or whatever. So it's an interesting. Okay, so Beck says it's free but limited to an hour at a time, or you can pay like a monthly fee or something, and then so that's an interesting concept. And like you were saying, Nick, I could see that being definitely something in the future as internet gets faster. It's one of those things where it would be convenient for me to, smart TVs are getting smarter every day. To all of a sudden, I can just Bluetooth my controller to any TV in my house and pick up from where I left off in my most recent, play session of, Grand Theft Auto 6. I just start playing it on a TV. I don't have to worry about consoles, or I don't have to worry about hardware and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely something that's going to happen as technology gets faster with internet speeds and more efficient, smaller, stuff like that.
I think Game Pass is like the first, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, like the first tiny step towards that future. But there's still going to be, I think we still have a long way to go before people are fully weaned off of having physical hardware and physical games. And being
I think it's just because most people don't have the internet to handle that.
Right.
Yeah, even me with extremely fast internet, when I did Stadia and stuff, it was nowhere near as good as me just playing it on my computer.
Right. And you know what? Even me, someone like me who has like been for a very long time has been very, very unsure about my willingness to go fully digital. I'm starting to come around on it. And I feel like if I can get to that point where I think I would be comfortable, then I feel like most people will eventually get there. But I still think there's a long way to go. Just this week, Microsoft said they are not slowing down their development of physical hardware. Like their their internal development of new hardware. And if anything, they're speeding it up. So like they're not thinking necessarily about a hardwareless future in any real sense yet. But we'll get there. I think we'll definitely get there, but like we're starting to see the incremental steps to that point right now.
Yeah, I see where you're at, Nick, with your all digital future. I'm fine with an all digital future. I'm just not fine with a subscription future. I don't think I could get behind that, because I pay for like Netflix and that's it. I don't have any other subscription services I back. So because I like really owning my content.
You, but I am right there with you. I think, but here's the thing. But by the time we get to that point, I think that will just kind of be everybody's reality, anyways. I feel like we'll eventually get to a point where, and as much as I was at one point was kind of like I just need Netflix and that's it. But now I have fucking Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and all this stuff. And to be honest, and HBO. And I'm going to be honest, I use them all on a regular basis. And I don't even have cable television anymore because that's how I interact with my
even though you're basically paying the same, if not more than cable at this point, if you think about it.
But I don't have to watch commercials, and I can pick and choose what I watch when I want to watch it. And pretty much all of the content that I want to watch is available through one of those services. So and on my schedule. So, for me, it's worth it. And I think, but I do feel like eventually that will kind of become the way we think about games at some point. But again, that's probably a long way off.
Yeah.
Let's answer one or two more short questions before we wrap up.
All right. I think I can pick some short ones. This one will be very short, I think, from the Drunken Merchant. What are your comfiest, coziest areas in video games? These are areas you could just leave on your TV in the background because they're so relaxing. Some examples include the train in Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, the aquarium in Animal Crossing New Horizons, sitting at a bar in Red Dead Redemption while it's raining outside.
Ooh, that's a good one. I was gonna say specifically like any one of the camps in Red Dead Redemption 2, just like kind of sitting there on one of a bench and just people walking around having conversations, people sitting around the fire playing songs. Like that whole place feels alive as hell, but like really chill.
Mm-hmm.
So
like any one of 100 vistas inside of Breath of the Wild, it's like just sit down and just let that play out as the day-night cycle goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, both menu start screens for both Last of Us games.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
good. Yeah.
Both of those, just leave it on the menu, man. Like those are both fantastic. Like the first one, you have that window with the breeze blowing on the curtain and the music and like the greenery, and then the second one with the boat, just like slowly hit the waves. Like just both of those are so relaxing.
So good.
I think one of my comfiest would be the player housing in Monster Hunter World Iceborne. They give you a new like residential room that you can mess with. It's like this big 2-story lofted room that has its own like outdoor area with like gardens and a like a hot spring, and you can customize the whole. It's that, and I remember the castle from Inquisition being from Dragon Age Inquisition being really
yeah.
I think Nolan and I just had the exact same
about
thought.
to go the same way. Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima Hot Springs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not even just Ghost of Tsushima Hot Springs. Basically, anywhere in Ghost of Tsushima.
What was the
just any place, just stop and just point the camera somewhere, and like it's just relaxing.
Just let it be.
What was the spa town? What was the hot spring town in Ghost of Tsushima?
Yeah. I forgot the name of that one.
The Golden Temple, or was it?
No,
it was the early on in the first area.
It's like north of the Golden Temple, I think.
Where you meet the bow master. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Also, quick note, just quick news drop here. But there's rumors floating around right now that they're working on a kind of like a Lost Legacy size standalone expansion of Ghost of Tsushima. I think it even has a rumored name at this point, like Ghost of, and then one of the other islands. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that's heavily rumored right now. Just thought I'd bring that up.
If that's built on the Legends, that's fucking great.
That Legends stuff is pretty
let's
cute.
do one more question from it's another one from Drunken Merchant. Sorry, I just looked at the question, not the name. What is your favorite fourth wall breaking moment in video games?
Easy. DMC, where the wig flies to the air and lands on his head, and he has like the Dante hair for a split second, and he kind of looks in the mirror and he's like, "Not in a million years." Fucking love that moment. So good. So good.
The jokes have not aged well, I don't think, but like 1 in 3 jokes that were in Sunset Overdrive were some very nice fourth wall breaking stuff. Like especially the ending is like one giant fourth wall joke. So
that's still a game I want to go back and I bought my fucking Xbox One for that, and I never played more than like 4 or 5 hours of it.
Really? That's disappointing. Maggie says
there's so many in the Metal Gear Solid games. Obviously, the first one was Psycho Mantis fight. The whole like, you got to call Meryl. Her number's on the back of the case.
Of the CD case. Yeah.
Every single 2 had a bunch of them as well. That's one of the things I love about Kojima. Is just that little weird kind of out of, just those little kind of nods and stuff like that are always great in those games. What's up, Crispy?
the Stanley Parable has a bunch of good ones. Undertale has a really cool one
has some
at the end. And Pony Island.
I was gonna say Pony Island. Don't you get like Steam messages,
ones, man? Dude,
it's like Steam messages.
Well,
from
like
your
one of the demons that you have to fight, he challenges you to a staring contest, and you're like, oh, okay. And it's kind of fucking creepy too, because it's like this face on the screen. He's like, okay, stare, and then he's like, I'll know if you look away, and then like it'll start like throwing Steam messages from your friends on the overlay, and you're like, "What the fuck?" So like when you tab out, he's like, "Ha ha!" Like it's fucking.
Coney Island was such a good idea for a game.
That's not the only crazy like fourth wall break that happens in that game either. There's a bunch of them, and that game's incredible. And I'm super excited for Inscription because that game looks like it's even more fucked up.
Yep.
All right, that was a good question. Good question.
Yeah. That's all for tonight, question-wise.
All right. Well, guys, thanks again for all your questions. Again, if you're a subscriber on Twitch or a supporter on Patreon, at any tier, you can ask us questions, and we will get to them eventually. So if you didn't hear your question this week, we will get to it on a future show. But we had a lot to cover tonight, so we need to go ahead and wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. Our hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you. Y'all know how it works. Brad's not here, so I'm going to start with Nolan.
Fuck, I'm not ready this week.
Okay, Chris Davis.
I'm not ready either.
God damn it, guys.
I got this.
All right, Crispy's here to save us.
I'm going to start this week with my sweat. My sweat is for Phantom Abyss. Very cool game. I hope that development makes it into something worthwhile and it's not just like a flash in the pan streamer game, which is kind of what it is right now. But it's still fun. Worth checking out. My hype is going to be for Shadowbringers, Final Fantasy XIV. I'm right on the doorstep. I'm right there on the precipice. I'm about to cross over into the last expansion before I'm like caught up and ready for Endwalkers later. It's fucking great. It's been a journey. It's been such a journey. It's been crazy. Oh man, what a good game. My fuck you for this week, I'm gonna give it to fucking David Scott Jaffe just because he deserves it. Because that guy is the fucking worst. That guy is comically stupid. Like, it's just the worst. Oh my god, he's like, I don't know, he's like the fucking Steven Crowder of video games or something. And then my thank you for the week, I am going to give to Nick for buying me a brand new microphone. Thank you, Nick. And the patrons, actually, for paying for it. Nick's just the one who ordered it on Amazon.
Yeah, I didn't spend an actual dime other than...
It's blue.
that it is. Nolan, I sent Nolan the link, and Nolan's like, "I'll take the teal one, please." So, Nolan's the only one that's a different color.
Oh, yeah, mine's special.
Damn it. It
was the same price. Y'all could have done it. All right, Nolan, are you ready now?
I can be ready. Choice. I have 3 out of 4, so by the time I can just talk and I'll just get a 4th one, right? So my hype this week is for Industries of Titan. I've been really into that game. I've been loving it. I'm excited to play more of it. And hopefully, I don't foresee anything going wrong with it in this current playthrough. And like I said, I'll put it down and wait for it to actually come, 1.0. My sweat is going to go to the Steam sales. I want to say it's either 28 or 29 games on my Steam wish list. Just things I've added over time. All but 4 have pretty good sales on them, and the reason those 4 don't is because they don't exist yet. They're just like coming soon games, but every single game on my Steam wish list is on sale at pretty good prices, and it's just tough because I know.
Yeah. Just rip the Band-Aid off, Nolan.
If I don't play a single one of them, if I don't buy a single one, by the time I get around to playing them, they're going to be on sale again.
Sure.
My thank you was also going to go to our community for the new mics. I really do appreciate it. Everything about it is a lot better. As a better shock mount, better pop screen, excited, more functionality. So it's very nice. My fuck you this week is the only one I didn't have because I don't really have one.
You can always just pick one more thing you're hyped about, baby.
Well, yeah, I was going to say I'll give another thank you / sweat to Call of Duty.
Sweaty thanks.
I've been playing more of that, obviously, playing some Warzone and just playing the multiplayer more recently. I have met some pretty nice people in that world. I do meet some that aren't very nice, But the ones I have met that have been nice have been delightful, and I enjoy spending time with them. I can give a fuck you to a guy we played with the other day. We were playing a mode. Forgive me, I don't know the multiplayer mode names very well, but it was like, I don't know, it was like Hardline or something. I don't know. You had to get points, whatever. You had to get to 200 points, and the first team to 200 points wins. And we were kind of behind. It was kind of neck and neck the whole game. And then at one point they had like 196 and we had 194, and we're like, no, we can still do it. And then we won, and the score was 200 to 199. And afterwards, I'll often, I'm a fairly, I guess, nice person. So I was like, hey, good job. I was like, GG y'all, it was a lot of fun. And the other guy, one of the guys on the other team was like, shut up, you almost lost. And normally I don't kind of trash talk people, but I was like, hold up, dude, you did lose. Why are you going to trash talk me saying you almost lost because you did lose? I'm like, I'm over here trying to be nice to you because I had a good time, and you're going to be like a dick to me?
I almost lost.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
But I won.
Exactly. So, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. All right, Chris Davis.
Okay. I actually have a traditional 4-player minute this week.
Look at you.
Oh, this guy over here.
It has been a long time since I've done one of them like this. My hype is for Road 96. Of all the Steam Next games I played about a dozen. Road 96 is the one that just stuck out to me, and damn, that game looks like it's going to be something special. Like I was saying, it's hitting that kind of quality Life is Strange, Telltale writing going on with this great concept for a game. I really want to play this right now. That is the narrative game of everything else the rest of the year. I have to play that.
All right. Damn.
Yeah. My sweat goes to our news article this evening, which was the Dead Space thing. I don't trust EA to not try to fuck with Dead Space in some way, shape, or form. And I played through the campaign of Battlefront 2, and I was not pleased how they did it. I understand why they had to do that story the way they did it, but it was so transparent, and there was nothing bold at all with that story.
That was another team being asked to shoehorn a campaign into a dice game. That's what that was.
Yeah. But this was like the campaign people most wanted to play that year, because it was a well-made Star Wars game that had problems, but the main problem for Battlefront 1 was that it was missing a single-player campaign, and this was supposed to be it, and it was such a disappointment for me.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not really sure. I don't think people should have expected much from a campaign in that game from the get-go, but I don't
know. Well,
I don't know.
My thank you this week goes to the actual true winner of E3, which was the indie community. Of everything that was revealed over the past 2 weeks, the most impressive stuff was the assortment and variety of indie titles that we were getting. Seeing games like
which is not usually the case at E3.
Yeah, that really is not. And this was a really strong indie showcase. For once, E3 was not about really the AAA products. So
that's largely because of the circumstances in which E3 is being held this year. So
yeah, this might have been a fluke.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but yeah, what was there was just like quality stuff for most of the entire week. My fuck you, I'm gonna split it. My first half of it goes to Konami, because fuck you, this entire saga that's been going on with that abandoned game would not have to be a reality if you would have just let Kojima make fucking Silent Hills. Like
I like how you started that with about the abandoned thing, but still found a way to just make it about Konami not canceling Silent Hills, because that's the real travesty here.
It is the real tragedy, not just travesty, tragedy that
Oh, I still remember the pain. I remember the pain. And I still feel that pain.
And we're gearing up for more disappointment with Abandon when it turns out it's not actually a fucking Silent Hill game, and Nick comes to yell at me for getting my hopes and dreams up.
Hey, I already said fuck you for that. I'm not going to do it again.
Yeah.
But
well, you'll
don't
be
steal
to do
all
it
my
again
thunder. Don't steal my thunder. I got some abandoned stuff in my 4-player minute. Keep going.
But my other half of my fuck you obviously has to go to Ubisoft because it's been 7 years since we got a new Splinter Cell game. And you can't help yourselves but dance your way around actually having a proper Splinter Cell game. You'll do DLC for a game that people very quickly lost interest in. Or you'll do a fucking Netflix animated show that doesn't have Michael Ironside doing the voice acting, but you'll have him brought on for the marketing for that DLC to say that, oh, they never replaced me. I was always the real Sam Fisher. He is my character. Fuck you, Ubisoft. Just fucking commit to making a fucking Splinter Cell game.
Don't forget they're making a VR game.
No. I don't even want to acknowledge that game's fucking existence. Because it's not even a full VR game. It is an Oculus exclusive game, and you know that's gonna fucking suck. No.
Well, it sounds spoken like someone who doesn't have an Oculus. I'm gonna play it on my Oculus.
Yeah, what if you're gonna play it and you're just gonna break my heart with everything you fucking say?
Well, what are you saying? If it's good or
there's no way it's gonna be good. But either way, it's not going to be a game I'm going to be able to play, even if it is on his fucking fantastic.
It's going to be tragic. Okay. All right. My 4-player minute starts now. My hype goes to the Abandoned reveal, which is tomorrow. Despite the fact that we know it's not a Silent Hill game, and if it is, holy shit, that's gross in and of itself, the way they danced around that. But it's not. The fact that I'm excited to see what this is. Not necessarily because of all the Silent Hill talk, but because it is a photorealistic horror game from an indie studio coming exclusively to PS5. And they announced this week one of the company that they partnered with to create a lot of the photorealistic assets. And they've been tweeting and stuff a lot about the game this week. That team has produced assets that have been used in things like The Last of Us Part 2 and Destiny 2, and there's like if you look, somebody went and looked through like their resume on their website, and like they've been producing shit for like huge games. Ghost of Tsushima was one of them. So like, as they're working with this studio that makes really amazing assets. So I'm excited to see what this is, even if it has nothing to do with Silent Hill. My fuck you goes to the internet for turning this Abandoned thing into such an unnecessary conspiracy. Because it got so bad so quickly that it is turned into developers working on the game have made videos on social media to just for the sake of proving that they are in fact people who don't work for Hideo Kojima. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like literally multiple videos from multiple people involved in this project have been like, I just wanted to make this video to show you that I am in fact a real person who makes video games. Jason Schreier did an interview and said, I did an interview with this guy. He is in fact a real person. He is not Hideo Kojima. And it's just got...
turn the camera and show me that Hideo Kojima isn't off to the side with a gun to your head. Turn the camera.
Exactly.
That is the other part. That is the other part of this joke. The whole thing is just fucking weird. But yeah,
I mean,
so
the problem in this scenario is that the Phantom Pain was pitched as this brand new indie developed title that was just really fucking beautiful. And then it was revealed that it was entirely false bullshit that was Metal Gear Solid 5.
But here's the other thing is like, it's so weird in that like, this obviously seems to be a big deal because it's a Sony exclusive. So they're throwing money behind it. It looks crazy. It's having this weird marketing campaign. And apparently they're announcing it. They're showing it off tomorrow via some app on the PlayStation, which makes me think like PT. And now I'm like, what the fuck is happening? You know what? I don't know. I'm excited to see what the fuck it is. I'm not going to be mad though if it's not Silent Hills because it's probably a cool looking project from some indie studio. And that's cool too. But yeah, fuck the internet, man. Y'all are weird. My thank you this week goes to our supporters on Patreon and Twitch once again for continuing to support us, especially in this last year when we've had to turned to a completely different form of recording, and we've been recording from home and all this stuff, and y'all continue to support us, and we finally spent some money to improve our equipment to make our remote podcast better. I hope it comes across in the audio on the live stream, and I hope it comes across in the audio on the final recording. But thank you for your continued support. We love you and appreciate you. And my last, I'll do another hype. I was going to do a sweat, but I said, fuck it. I threw it out because today, in an interview, Michael C. Hall said the new season of Dexter, he thinks, is premiering on November 7th. And you know what? When he said that, I kind of got the feeling that someone at Showtime was like, fuck, I don't think he was supposed to say that. Shit. But you know what? He probably knows, right? He probably fucking knows. And that jives with what they've been saying. So November 7th is officially now the only date in 2021 I actually care about. And that's that. So, guys, thank you. That's our show. Once again, we appreciate you being here. Let's get together next week and talk more about video games. I think Brad will be back. I'm not sure. We're going to have plenty to talk about. We're starting to get into release season. I think we have like another month of kind of like quiet release-wise, which is good. I'm going to play catch-up. I'm going to try and play some fucking catch-up. But August is going to be fucking crazy. I don't know if y'all have looked at it. August is going to be fucking bananas. But anyways, we hope you'll join us again next week. In the meantime, join us in Discord at discord.gg/4player. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And of course, you can find all of our podcast episodes over at 4playernetwork.com. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Be good to each other. Play video games. And we'll see you next week. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.